think we're live, so you can stop eating that cookie. Unless I boomered the microphone again. Oh god, I hope that's not the case.
Oh yeah, we need to take a look at that one.
Hopefully the chat can tell us if they can hear me.
How's it going, guys? It seems like a pretty good day, and it has been 117 days since the last Battlescroll.
Yeah, wow. Only 117, and we're, it's probably going to be about 120, approximately. So probably Battlescroll this week, right? That's what we're expecting.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know anything. I don't know anything. Yeah. We don't know anything. We're just doing our best.
Yeah. I called it.
You literally called it.
Right after we start, I knew it.
By the way, audio seems to be working.
Great.
For what it's worth. How's it going? We're going.
AOS Coach wants to know what kind of cookie you were eating.
Oh, AOS Coach. We're not sponsored. I'm kidding. We're not sponsored. No, it's just recently they opened a crumble cookie. If you're in the U.S., you've probably heard of crumble cookies. They're actually really good. Having the apple pie one, and it's good. How's it going, Mergonk?
Sorry.
Thanks for joining us.
Took a devil's nap a little bit.
Okay, so before we start the stream, this is going to be Realm Report number 3. We're going to be looking at tournament lists. We're going to be talking about how people have adapted to Gallet Season 1. Then we're going to talk about what's in the Battlescroll, probably, maybe. We don't have any insider info, but we can guess pretty good, usually. So, and then we'll talk about the tier list for the ongoing Season 1 discussion that we've been having. So, thank you for joining us, everybody. I'm glad my mic is working. That's the number one thing. Want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Kaiju Gaming Lounge. They are awesome. Dan, you want to take that away because you're good friends with them, man. You're a local.
Yeah, dude. They're great people. They recently had a booth over at Crucible, which will be one of the events we're covering today. And out there supporting the community. They're always supporting. Carl was big help in getting that to happen. So. But yeah, they recently started doing a lot of custom measuring things. I don't have any Stormcast ones because all he had was the Grand Alliance ones for now. But I did pick up some 40k stuff. I'm a Dirty Tau player, and these are some of the measuring tools that he's got for that. But he definitely does some AOS stuff as well. And you can definitely hit up Kaiju's. Currently taking orders through Facebook, so facebook.com/KGL Orlando. They do that. They also do, if you've ever played at a tournament with terrain templates, they do sets of templates as well, which are really awesome for making consistent games. We use that locally. It's really nice to just have consistent stuff. But yeah, all kinds of stuff, tactics. They have really cool little squares with all the tactics on them and really cool font. You can get that in different colors, as far as I'm aware. Measuring tools. Hopefully we'll get some Stormkeep ones as well.
Maybe
lots of stuff in the works. Yeah, maybe. We'll see what we got going. We are working on dice. That'll be pretty cool. So.
Yeah, we're gonna reveal the design of those as soon as we get some proofs in. But we've sent those out to manufacturers, so Stormkeep dice are happening. They'll be here soon. So
soon TM. Sooner than the Battlescroll, maybe.
No, hopefully not.
I don't. Nobody knows that this Battlescroll exists. Actually,
it's not.
And
real.
I was telling Paul this. Basically, we had 40k people at the US in Chicago come to check out our tables, and they were like, "Oh, that's that snake-looking energy thing. That's a cool terrain piece." Yeah, they thought it was a terrain piece because it's so common, and they're like, "Our army can't have this. It's got to be terrain."
Yeah,
it's got to be terrain. Yeah,
it's embarrassing. The Kronspine's an embarrassment. Yeah. Kaiju Gaming also sponsors our painting contest. We just finished up the Chariot painting contest. If you're watching this live, then that contest finished yesterday. We had some fantastic entries, and I'm looking forward to ranking them and picking our favorites and sending out prizes. And the next one will be announced soon. We're going to give people a little more time for the next one. I think 3 weeks has been a little bit short, so we're going to try punching it up to 4 weeks for the next contest.
That's good.
All right. Moving on here. Just a quick reminder in case people haven't been paying that close attention like we have. We talk about the game all day, every day, but some people don't do that, which is, shocking, right?
You guys don't talk about the game all the time?
For people who have not been in the know, you're just coming back to Age of Sigmar, or you just need a refresher, the General's Handbook 2022 has added a lot of interesting rules to the game. There's basically a new unit type called Infantry. They get to fight in 2 ranks, so if you had a 1-inch infantry on 32 mil bases, like let's say you're a Khorne player and you're always thinking like, this is awful, I can't fight with all my Blood Reavers. Well, good news, they can fight in 2 ranks now. And there's a special mechanic called the Proving Grounds, where every turn a player picks, or every round a player picks 1 objective, and only veteran units, which is this new keyword thing, only those types of units can contest it. There's also a new realm command and a realm spell, and I think somebody in Europe used them once. There's 2 new battalions that are really, really strong. You're going to see a lot of them today. We're going to be talking about both of the new battalions. They get featured heavily. There's new battle plans, new tactics, new grand strategies, and the endless spells are huge. Endless spells were changed, and they're big. So, needless to say, the summer changed up the game a lot, and we've been doing this series, the Realm Report, in order to kind of catalog the changes and see how people are adapting to it all, because it's interesting, and we like talking about the game.
Yeah, man, I'm excited. We saw some pretty cool lists over the past month, and I wanted to pick out some lists that were like a little bit meta defining, but also like ones that might be still great, even if, like, for example, there's a Kronspine nerf. There actually isn't a single Kronspine in any of these lists.
Not true. There's one, I think.
There is one.
There's at least one.
Oh, did I miss one?
There's at least one. I know because I had transcribed it all.
That's fair. That is fair. Okay. I tried to avoid putting in Kronspines, but still, it's an interesting time. I'm excited to see what the Battlescroll does. But it's still worth looking at some of the top lists, seeing what's going on, and there's some pretty cool ones I'm excited to go over as well.
Yeah, unfortunately I didn't have time to add like any fancy faction flair. We tried putting this together this morning, but that's okay. Look, production quality will only increase over time. Let's talk about the first list, Dan. Run us through it, man.
Yeah, so we've got James Mackenzie, great Sylvaneth player, running a Heartwood Sylvaneth, so that's the one that gives a bonus to hit. You pick 3 units at the beginning of the game, and everything has a bonus to hit towards them. Running the very classic combo of Spellsinger on the War Song.
Mm-hmm.
Super common with that as the general. An Arch Revenant for that bonus to wound. The Carnal Hunters with Great Bows. 20 Dryads, which I thought was interesting putting them all together. That'd be a reinforced unit. And then 5 Tree Revenants to fill out the battle line. Skate's Wild Hunt, which is a really cool Warcry Warband. They're very interesting. They can run and charge and shoot all the time. Got 6 Spider Rider Lancers serving as the big melee hammer, as usually Sylvaneth has a big melee hammer that they're going to go ahead and focus on strike invading. And then you've got 3 Revenant Seekers to kind of fill out the melee profile, some speed. Strike and Fade isn't everything, and of course to start reviving things that do get taken out. Mm-hmm. So, really interesting list. Oh, and Cogs, because Cogs is really good when you rely on trees and everything to keep going. But I thought it was notable that they didn't have a Spite Swarm hive.
Yeah, that really threw me off, because it's really rare to see a Kurnoth focused list, or I mean, this one has 6 Kurnoths there with Great Bows, right? But like typically you see Kurnoth, you see Spite Swarm Hive. For people who don't know, the Hive is like a huge charge bonus. I think it's +2 or +3 to charging.
+3.
Yeah.
Yeah, +3 to move, +3 to charge.
It's huge, because you teleport and then you charge with a +3, which is even more reliable than what Stormcast are doing these days, which is gross.
What it seems... Sorry, what it seems like this one's doing is the Spite Rider Lancers, they're pretty fast. So he's using that to get across the board for them being the main melee hammer.
Mm-hmm. Yep, he's got a big shooting hammer of the Kurnoth Hunters, which are not the highest damage shooting unit. They're okay, right? They're not like long strikes or crossbow adjudicators. They're just fine. They're pressure that your opponent eventually has to deal with, and they pay a lot of points for their durability. So that's not the main source of damage in this list. The main source is the Lancers, for sure, and Bounty Hunters. They're going to be trying to murder every horde. I'm curious how this list in particular would deal with something like Gargants, because there's nothing in here that really punches Gargants well.
No, Spite Riders really don't do good into Gargants. You really need like a 6 block of Seekers to like do some significant damage, or obviously the sides, which are the premium option for damage. And but that sides definitely need Spite Swarm Hive, Strike and Fade to go ahead and be effective though.
Yeah, my guess is they just take wounds off of them. Just slowly, like clunk wounds off of them, and eventually one gets down enough, they can sort of like double charge with the unit of buffed up Kurnoth as they get close.
I
I can see this list having issues of.
Yeah, it seems like Sylvaneth in general, they don't have any super high damaging units aside from Kurnoth Hunters with Scythes and let's say Gossamed Archers if you have significant numbers of them. But this list is it's got the Revenant Seekers in there. It's obviously trying to trade up. I think this list is not trying to have like a 2-turn winning stroke. It's going all 5 rounds. It's going to try to keep those Seekers alive as long as possible, pick wounds away with the War Song.
I would say Lancers.
Well, I think that's what he meant, yeah.
No, I'm saying the Seekers are going to revive the Lancers, right?
Oh, to revive everything.
Oh, right,
yeah, that makes sense. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, because if those Seekers
Too
are
bad
gone...
Skate's Wild Hunt is sold out everywhere, because, that +1 to wound spell is really strong.
I have a couple of questions for you guys. Maybe you can answer them for me, because I'm not familiar with James Mackenzie here. Do you think the Skate's Wild Hunt is there just because you couldn't afford 5 more True Revenants? Because it's like 5
no, it's there for the spell.
Margonk was mentioning, it's a spell.
It's a spell that is essentially Celestial Blades for their Seekers. Revenant Lance.
Oh yeah, then that's a no-brainer.
It's Celestial Blades.
I guess
yeah.
So
it's the only spell like it too. Like it's on its War Scroll, and it's not like it's in their lore or something. So it's actually a super good inclusion for
the Arch Revenant.
Just in general.
The Arch Revenant only buffs Kurnoths, right?
Correct.
Oh, okay,
yeah,
that's
and
why.
in an aura, yeah. So he's good for the bows, really good for the bows. No, sorry, he picks a unit. Yeah, my bad. Not an aura. I've made that mistake.
No. Yeah. The Arch Revenant affects the bows and the sides. The Skate's Wild Hunt does it for literally any. Yeah. So it could be Seekers, it could be Lancers. If you're the guy who runs lots of maybe like Tree Lords or like any like fighty hero, you could also put a +1 to win on them.
Viad in the chat makes a good point that Skates, I was mentioning earlier, is very efficient. Cost efficient. I think they're 110 or 115. Very cheap. For what they do. Skates and Tree Revs do cost the same. And like he was talking about, they are weak on the DPS check, but with the 14-inch move, plus, you
just keep
the
hitting
ability
them.
to move around.
This is an attrition style from the looks of it. Like, if let's say you were playing this as a Stormcast player, you'd want to kill the Seekers, then you'd want to start chunking away at the Spite Rider Lancers while taking hits from the Hunters and trying to mitigate that, because they've only got Rend 1, there's no Purple Sun here. You can reasonably outrange the Revenant's threat range, right? If you play carefully with the terrain on the board, this would be more tricky to play against than the typical Sylvaneth list, which is just trying to do as much damage as possible. I like it. This what do you think the 20 Dryads are for?
Oh,
that's my second.
They're one of the best screens.
-1 to hit, -1 to wound on a 20 block.
Don't you think Bounty Hunters is just going to cut right through that?
-1 to hit, -1 to wound is
It
huge.
won't. I'll speak from experience, having run Vanquishers against 20 Dryads, it's very tough to... It's not that...
Yeah, I guess Vanquishers would be on 2s and 4s, huh? Or 3s and 4s.
3s and 4s, yeah.
3s and 4s.
Okay.
Even 3s and 3s just with Celestial Blade, that's going all in on the Vanquishers. So, it's tough.
Yeah, if you're dropping from the sky, you're not taking...
Yeah, some of the destruction armies are really not feeling good when you're having to hit on 5s or wound on 5s.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Lumineth would hate this too. -1 to wound, really, they hate that.
Yeah, and this is for shooting too, so you can't even shoot them with crossbows.
Interesting.
Yeah, crossbows don't feel good either. It's good stuff.
Right on. For people who haven't seen it yet, in our chat, we have a poll going right now. We've been talking about the Lumineth Battle Tome a lot on our Discord, so we're kind of just trying to suss out how people feel about it. Personally, I think they're good. They're not great. They're just good, but we'll see what the poll says by the end of the video. Okay, next list.
Ooh, the interesting one. I think Margonk, you should go over this one.
You are the resident OBR expert.
It's not loaded for me.
Sorry about that. Hang on. All right, so we got. I don't know.
Yeah,
if you
just
saw
introduce it.
Okay. Bill Souza's list. His is a OBR list. And it is very interesting. It is not what you expect. There's no more Tech Guard. You've got a General Mortison Soul Mason with Arc in the Black, 2 sets of Min Death Riders, and then 2 sets of 9 Necropolis Stalkers with Ravanax and the Bonetide Streaker. Really good endless spell rounding it out. Margonk, you got it open?
Yeah, I mean I can see it on the thing now. Okay, so I don't know what to think about this list. Honestly, I want to go over this is one of those things where I wish I could be a fly on the wall and see what Bill is fighting. I mean, he's one of the best players in AOS. If you've been paying attention to the competitive scene for the past 2, 3, however many years. In essence, with The Soul Mason is essentially a 2-caster, 3-caster because he can get cast Soul Guide again on a 2-up at the end of the hero phase, which allows the people to reroll once. They have Arcane Command on him, so he has Arcane Command on him, so D3 Relentless Discipline points, Petrifex, so everything reduces Rend by 1. Pretty strong for defense. Cavaliers Death Riders, I expect, are just there as screens, since he's also given them the Spear, meaning they'll have exploding hits on 5s, and I guess with Empower Netherite weapons, exploding hits on 4s. So I guess they're really there to take out either chaff units with just like tons and tons of hits, or just be a good screen since they have cavalry bases that can turn sideways. Arkham the Black is obviously like an auto-include in any OBR army, in my opinion. Having access to the whole spell lore means you can drain vitality, which makes them reroll 6s to save and to hit. You can put mortal contracts on stuff, which puts them on D3 mortal wounds on every phase that they do any damage to an OBR unit. He can put them on... Actually, Empower Shields doesn't really matter here. Empower Netherite weapons might matter, but only for the Cavaliers Death Riders. And then he has Protection on the Gash, which gives Archon the Black a 5-up ward and a teleport should something get past that to get out of threat range. And then the meat of this list is Necropolis Stalkers. Now, Necropolis Stalkers are a very interesting unit. They recently made them battle line in the last Battlescroll under any Mortis in general. They are 4 wounds. I want to say they have a 6-inch move, 9 inches with obviously Relentless Discipline, Relentless Advance. And they have, I know, his loadout, I think, was all Spirit Swords, which have a profile of 5 attacks, 3s and 3s, -1 Rend, 1 damage. But at the start of the combat phase, you get to choose an aspect of Necropolis Stalkers, which can put the Precision aspect puts them to, I think, or Destroyer aspect puts them to 5 attacks, 3s and 3s, -2 Rend, 2 damage. And that is incredibly dangerous on a unit of 9 Necropolis Stalkers who are obviously Galatian veterans since they're in the Expert Conquerors battalion, because that'll be something like... Yep, and with the Bone-Tied Shrieker, what Bone-Tied Shrieker does is everything within 12 of that Endless spell is +1 to hit for all OBR units on the field, and it turns off Rally, and it turns off Inspiring Presence. So he's essentially just advancing 9 with Necropolis Stalkers using the Relentless Command ability, and putting 45 attacks on 2s and 3s, -2 Rend, 2 damage. Oh, he'll be rolling hit rolls of 1 with the Soul Mason.
Nice.
Yes, and you got 2 of those units, not just 1.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, the Soul Mason can essentially do it twice, because he can do it in the hero phase, and then his ability, his chair, essentially lets him do it at the end of hero phase again.
His chair.
So just turning Stalkers into the most efficient killers they can be.
Yeah.
Expert Conquerors, because obviously this list wouldn't have any objective-taking capability without it. Everything is so elite. Ravnax Gnashing Jaws is a very interesting pick. I don't see many people take it.
Well, let me ask you about how obvious it is to go Expert Conquerors here. Because you could have swapped the Death Riders into Bounty Hunters to have... Because the Stalkers are going to do the same damage in and out of that battalion. But you could have put them in the Battle Regiment and put the Death Riders in Bounty Hunters. Bounty Hunters is completely skipped over here. And that makes me wonder why. Was it not work? Like...
So I think it's because, let's say you go out and delete something. Yeah, maybe, but it's also because if you go out and delete something and they riposte you with 10 models, if you're not an Expert Conquerors, they will take that objective away from you. And if it's a hard-hitting unit, maybe you don't necessarily want to choose the damage aspect, because one of the great things about this unit is that it gets to choose an aspect which lets it reroll save rolls, which is one of the few sources of reroll save rolls still there. So on the defense, you might not be as killy if you're scared of something wiping you out. And so you can safely reroll save rolls, stay on that objective in your numbers, and still maintain a really high objective presence.
Yeah, that's
where they
pretty
feel
much... Go ahead.
Yeah, where they feel like they have to overcommit to you, but you have a really strong defense with, say, Archon's Mystic Shield, Petrifex reducing a Rend, and you're rerolling all.
Yeah, that's one of the bonuses, the Expert Conquerors that we were talking about, is like, yeah, you're going to lose models. You can't really stop yourself from doing that. You could have like the tankiest unit ever, like Protectors, they're still going to die. And where Expert Conqueror comes in is like, even as they're dying, you're still holding the objective. Because a lot of times in Age of Sigmar, 2 really good players will not overcommit. Let's say that's not like, you don't have to wipe out the unit. You just have to wipe out enough models to take the objective, right? And sometimes, like when you have a unit of 9 models, that, like you said, 10 models can just walk onto it and steal it from you. But if they're an Expert Conqueror as well, you need a lot more than 10 models to do that. So
yeah, I think because it's so elite, it's to essentially stop Beast of Chaos, or I don't know, any faction that has a battle line of 10 models with 1 wound or less. Say like 20 dryads from just walking on there and stealing them.
So another question is, well, in addition to expert conquerors, you could also run bounty hunters. So why not do that and then just have a lot of drops? Like, why is this list in particular need the 3 drops? Let's say.
So when I think of the things it could require, so when I think of how OBR likes to play, maybe he thought it was redundant, because if you're going to be unloading 45 attacks on 2s rolling 1s and then 3s -2/2 damage, remember this is with Archon, who is most likely casting Drain Vitality on something that needs, which means they will most likely be on 5s and 6s, assuming they have a 3-up save, because most things in the game do, and they'll be re-rolling those 6s that they do succeed in scoring. So my guess is what Bill here is hoping is the bounty hunters is irrelevant. They'll just die anyway because they're not going to make that.
Against the stalkers, sure, but you could give additional utility to the Death Riders, right? You could stick them in bounty hunters.
Oh, I
So
think
it's about
3-drop. This is priority.
Tempo. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, turn priority.
In most
I
of the
think
lists,
I think 5 is too much. I think 5 is where you start to risk that I might get outdropped and alpha struck, because if Archon dies in this list, it's not as good.
Oh,
So you're still trying to maintain some kind of.
You couldn't even go 5, right?
Yeah.
It would be a lot more than that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In most of the lists he faced, he outdropped them.
Okay.
This one would be one. I think we can dive into some of the matchups on this one. Just real
Yeah,
briefly.
I'm curious how this would do against like a really heavy shooting long range kind of list, like maybe some Sylvaneth or Stormcast playing a really castle-y kind of style, or the new Lumineth, right? I've got that on the mind. I'm wondering how this, because Stalkers aren't the fastest unit. There's nothing in this army that can engage reliably turn 1, so it's kind of like a mid-range list. So I'm wondering how if it faced any of that.
And the thing is, yeah, the way to beat this list would be to kill heroes, because so I don't know how much y'all know about how OBR generates their RDP, but it's 1 for every hero, and then they roll 1 for each unit that they have in their army. This army has 5 units, so they roll 5 dice, and on 6s they get 1 RDP. So if you kill Archon and the Soul Mason somehow turn 1 with a bunch of shooters, they have no RDP to work with, which means all the stalkers are stuck moving 6 inches. They can't use their RDP to move faster. Stalkers also have a command ability that most OBR players use in the hero phase, which makes them the only army unit in the game that can reroll runs and reroll charges. So that won't be happening. So this list has to be really, really prioritized and going against the shooting army.
Fair points. Yeah, the Jaws, I wonder what that is for specifically. Maybe it's like Stormcast are in your face and you want to blast them because they have like 4 or 5 inch movement. Maybe it's for Sylvaneth because their units are mobile but not fast, right? Like Kurnoth's jumping into your face, you want to blast them, or Tree Lords, something like that. Wondering about the Jaws.
I think it is for that, yeah. Some of the tougher matchups for this list, I can see like Nurgle. It could be useful for blasting Nurgle. But overall, I think what happens is, you can see it's 1995 points. He probably just had 60 points left over. Purple Sun probably would have been the go-to back when it was 70, but now that it's 90, I think people are going to switch more to Ravnax because it's actually a really good.
Well, he was 5 points short of Purple Sun here.
Yeah, so if you can, with Ravnax Gnashing Jaws, the thing with Archon is he's essentially got a 5-caster army, and depending on how many unbinds he needs to do, he can easily just cast Ravnax, do the damage, unbind it in the opponent's turn, cast it again on their turn, and then you're constantly getting that 3d6 of the root. So you can keep fishing for high.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
But this is the kind of style, by the way, I was talking about 2 streams ago. I think the first Realm report we did, I said, man, OBR, they got to ditch the Mortex and just commit to Death Riders and Stalkers because their Mortex are just a liability, right? So,
well, yeah, I mean, the biggest thing. No, I totally agree. Bounty Hunters and Roar. This is why Mortex aren't seeing. Yeah. Roar just kills them.
Yeah.
Losing Hunters of the Heartland was like the biggest blow to Mortex.
Here's a question. Does the Lumineth ability that makes command abilities cost 2 command points, that has no effect on OBR, right? Because they don't use command abilities.
Nope.
Yeah, they don't use.
And it was in the FAQ that OBR do get command points in addition to RDP. We just can never use them. So right. Lumineth doesn't apply.
That's hilarious.
Oh. Classic Games
Just
Workshop
to run
rules.
through it, because I thought they were kind of interesting. He faced a mirror match, which is a very typical Mortec guard build with an incarnate. The only spicy thing was some stalkers. He had 1 unit of 3, so nothing crazy. So I think he wins that just off of slaughtering. But then he faced, and Ragonk, you've seen Tom Guan's latest Cities of Sigmar Hollow Heart list.
Yeah, Hollow Heart.
Yeah, so he's basically doing dueling dragons in cities. He's got a Hurricanum, Battle Mage, Sorceress, Castellan with 4 dragons, so he's just buffing up dragons to an extreme. Also, the Kronspine is able to be... He's got a Kronspine and 4 dragons, right, with buffs, and then some screens.
Mm-hmm.
He's literally... he just doesn't have any shooting, which, you know... Well, I mean, the Hurricanum can shoot. So there's some of that. I was surprised he won against that list. I think that was one of the more interesting ones, is buffed up dragons and Incarnate. That seems really tough for them to chew through. Next he faced off against...
I don't know about that, because...
Really?
Again, yeah, because it's like... Okay, so I can see how dragons would be tough, because is it the exact same list with Tom Guan's as in the one of the Castellans?
This is Tom. It's Tom Guan himself. You know, he's everywhere.
Oh, okay.
He just shows up places.
Yeah. So my guess is like the only big fighter in that list is Stormdrake, right?
Incarnate.
So what Bill can do is he can make...
Incarnate's kind of a bruiser.
Well, Kronspine is like, let's just say Stormdrake. What Bill can do is try to get a Mortal Contract and a Drain Vitality on Stormdrake Guard past the 4-up.
Mm-hmm.
The 4-up Spell Ignore. If either one of those, if Drain Vitality goes through especially, with using the special movement that OBR have plus the Bone Tide Shrieker, he can effectively get 90 attacks at -2 red. Which puts Stormdrake Guard to like a 4-up save after all-out defense, or 3-up. But 90 attacks on 2s rolling 1s, plus Bill's probably going to get the Triumph against that list. Meaning he'll be winning on 2s on 45 of them.
He doesn't get to roar them. They have Castellan. They can get Mystic Shield, so they'll be at a +3 very easily. I don't know.
I think the Drakes might have trouble killing the Stalkers if they're re-rolling saves, right?
Like,
if they fail to roar,
maybe. Yeah, they get stuck.
Does that?
Plus Archon can cast Ravnak's Gnashing Jaws, but actually uses +6 range and actually hit the heroes that are behind this whole thing.
That's
he can
true.
put Archon pretty.
Move very slow.
Yeah, so you can just screen out with Death Riders for a turn, be like, all right, Stormdrake Guard, chew on Death Rider. You know, eat your hearts out.
That list is using a Castellan, Dan?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So he's got a +3 to save. He can be at a +3 to save very easily. +4 if you're on terrain. Like, dude, that's why I love the Dueling Dragons list. +4 to save. It's hilarious when a Nighthaunt guy charges you with 3 units, but he doesn't have the Stormdrake Guard in Bounty Hunters because he's a 1-drop. This is the only list that outdropped him.
Okay, so yeah, Bounty Hunters would be
really
the key here. That's why I was going to ask. That was my follow-up with, like, the Stalkers can probably tank the Dragons. The Dragons might be hard to kill, but the Dragons can only tie up 1 unit of Stalkers at a time. The other unit of Stalkers just murders everything.
No, I mean, actually, you don't even need to necessarily, like I said, you could just probably screen out with Death Riders for a turn, kill the heroes that Tom has, because they're all pretty fragile. And Tom is using that combo with the Sorceress where he like sacrifices herself to
makes it go wild.
Make the Kronspine go wild. And then once you kill the heroes with Ravnak's Gnashing Jaws or a Lucky Curse of Years, because they're only like 5 wounds, then you have an easy time just hitting the dragons next turn for full power.
I can see it.
Yeah, interesting. The Castellan, of course.
And I don't think dragons can survive 60 attacks at -2.
No, they're tanky, but not that tanky.
Yeah, they're not that tanky.
They're not a 2nd edition Bastillodon that ignored all rend until it took damage and then had a 1+ save.
Yeah.
Not that tanky.
Plus, he can also absorb Unleash Hell with the other unit of Catalyst.
Yeah, I like that.
And the Dragon Breath's not enough to kill these units, whereas it would potentially spike high enough to kill like a 10 wound, 15 wound unit, or like a 12 wound monster or something. It's not enough to kill these guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they're 9 times 4, so 27 wounds. No, 36 wounds.
With a ward. Yep.
With a ward, yeah, with a 6-up. So effectively,
what? 40 something?
Yeah,
40 something, yeah.
You can do half if you literally roll just 6s. Like, yeah, I mean, that's just not going to happen consistently at all. I wish we could have included Tom's list here, but there were some other lists I think were a little more interesting. But he's been trying that list a lot. That was interesting.
Okay.
Then it was Ironjawz, which was I think he can handle very well.
Yep.
Rerolling saves, the bonus. I don't think there's too much there. It was an Iron Suns list, so not necessarily as aggressive. And then he faced IDK, who I don't know if they have the damage to get through this. He faced a Morphan list with 40 thralls, 2 20. Yeah, like you don't have the damage. Like you don't have red.
No.
he didn't have an Eidolon either. He was running
So,
Soul
wait,
Render,
how many Reavers was he have? Did he have?
he only had 20, 2 sets of 10. He wasn't even gonna
Oh no, yeah,
do
no.
any damage.
30 Reavers could probably put a dent, but you would need time to go up against.
Yeah.
Because anything you try to get into melee, they would basically if you fight first, it doesn't matter because you're reducing rend, which means IDK is already having problems against. You're probably Mystic Shielded. You're rerolling saves. Yeah, they're not gonna chew through anything.
No.
Like the king maybe might kill 2 stalkers or something, but other than
They had a Leviathan
there.
too that was taking up a lot of the budget. So
yeah, also
Leviathan
Idna
is
Deepkin's
so
main
tough.
weakness is spells because they have no protection from spells and all the debilitating effects of all the.
Yep.
yeah, I could easily see Thralls just doing like 3 damage, and then
Not even, dude. Not even.
gosh. And then his last matchup was Beast of Chaos, but it wasn't Droger spam. It was Zangor focused list, so he had 2x6 Zangor Enlightened and the 30 Zangors. Everything else was filled out by 2 sets of Gors for battle line, the Shoggoth, Great Bray Shaman, Zangor Shaman, and a KDP for a Khorne Demon Prince. Sorry, lead speak right. Khorne Demon Prince to round it out. That was kind of interesting, but the Tzeentch version of this doesn't do enough. There's not enough rend there. I mean, there is enough rend, actually. Never mind. It's Beast of Chaos.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Would have been interesting to watch that game.
Yeah. I mean, he's got a lot focused in the Zangors and the 2x6 Enlightened on discs, so...
Right.
Yeah, that would have been a pretty interesting game, actually, to watch.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily the same game you see at a lot of top tables, but...
Alright, let's jump to the next list.
Yeah, let's do it.
Soulblight Gravelords. Ooh.
Right? So Michael Caldwell took Soulblight Gravelords. He's got the... Oh, there we go. I was like, where's Manfred? He's got Manfred and a Vampire Lord with Neferata. So he's got Manfred and Neferata pulling, a lot of the weight here. We've been seeing a lot of Graveguard lately. You would think that Graveguard wouldn't be doing as good in a Bounty Hunter's world.
They just do a lot of damage.
Yeah. I mean, but they're not battle line here. That's right. They're doing really good. He's got the Black Knights to mitigate all that. Some skeletons for more spread out. What's it called? Screening. So yeah, Neferata, Manfred, just a really good combo. But this is very spell focused, as a lot of Soulblight has been very magic focused lately with the Horrorghast, Purple Sun, and Cogs. This was pre-nerf Purple Sun, if I remember correctly, right?
Yeah, that's why it's tagged there at 70 points. This list would not be legal after the nerfs to Purple Sun.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it's interesting, kind of a little bit spell dummy, and then relying on the Graveguard and Blood Knights to carry here. Yeah, I mean, it's a good Soulblight list. I like seeing Soulblight. I think a lot of Soulblight players are just playing Nighthaunt, I think that just kind of happened. So it's nice to see. I like it.
Yeah, I like the Reinforced Blood Knights. I think they do... they've got some problems with coherency, but man, do they do a ton of damage when you stack up all the buffs on them. Even just Manfred alone with Blood Knights does a lot of damage. And putting them in Bounty Hunters, that's your anti-Nighthaunt unit right there. You're going to cut up so many ghosts.
Yeah, plus they can move over them.
Yeah, that's right.
Trample them
That's true.
mortally.
Yeah.
Lots of utility there.
It's your classic list with Soulblight Gravelords. Vampire Lord, Neferata, Manfred, the 2.
Yeah.
Vampire combos, yeah. Honestly, I'm kind of surprised to not see Kronspine in here, but it's whatever.
What would you swap out?
Refreshing.
Maybe Neferata?
Maybe Neferata, but no, her spell is actually really good.
Yeah, she's actually really
basically this list is trying to make Blood Knights ethereal essentially on a 2-up ethereal.
Mm-hmm.
So that way, nothing can kill them, and they're just going around killing everything because they can retreat and charge.
Yep. And then you got the Vampire Lord.
And then you have Manfred just being a, and then Manfred's just being a royal pain in the butt for anyone who tries to get rid of him.
Oh yeah, he's such a pain to deal with when people start using him offensively, sticking him in the way of melee units that are basically forced to charge him, and then just teleporting away and wasting their turn.
Yeah,
it's so
imagine
annoying.
a Stormstrike Chariot base in your face that can just move back when you charge it.
Yeah,
just teleport out. Insanely
just
good.
Obnoxious.
Glad to see a good Soulblight list, and it's a classic one, but it's still good. A lot of people don't realize a lot of.
I'm just sad we don't see Vordry anymore because of the Kronspine.
Yeah, that's
primarily.
Do you think this list should have gone for more I don't know, value somehow, because it's got 4 drops, which is like, lately we're seeing 3 drops as the new 1 drop. Like almost nobody plays single drop. That's pretty rare these days. A lot of people are playing 3 drop. 4 is weird. 4 is really weird. Like you're just giving up everything to the 3 drop list, and you're not getting any of the benefits of getting more than 3 drops.
I don't know if
Well, so I don't know about that because here's the thing, right?
Yeah.
The mentality behind the 4 drop is you will never beat the 1 drop list. You'll never beat the 3 drop list. You'll beat all the lists that say, okay, well, if I can't be 1 drop or 3 drop, I'll take a Warlord and be a 6 drop.
And be big value. Whereas this one has enough value in the units that it has. It doesn't care about any extra enhancements or anything like that.
Because people go, I want to take Bat Reg. They are IDK players. People go, I want to take Bat Reg and Bounty Hunters. And then you have people who go, I want to take Warlord, Bounty Hunters, or Expert Cards. And you basically slide in between them.
Well,
I think it fits the list style, for sure.
Yeah. And this is a list, like, if a Bat Reg list makes you go first, you don't care because that's when you get all your buffs up.
Yeah,
you get your Mystic Shields up, you get your Ethereal thing up, you get all your spells up, you get all your buffs up, you know, you spread around the board a little. And since you're deaf, you have recursion. So, like...
And I guess against those lists, you could deploy Neferata. No, you can't deploy her last. She's in the Battle Regiment. Oh, you could. No, the whole Battle Regiment could go down last. But I'm thinking you could just get her out of unbinding range just to make sure your spell goes off.
Neato. I like seeing it. That was over at the London GT.
Cool.
Pretty neat.
I'm glad Soulblight is still putting up results. I was really worried that Season 1 was going to kill him. Right, like the Bounty Hunter thing seems so oppressive against a lot of their key units, and it seems like they're pivoting.
Oh, I mean, no one's spanning 60 zombies.
Yeah, those are gone. Straight up, those don't exist anymore. Like, save the zombies, right?
The biggest nerf to Soulblight was the Nighthawk book being shinier. It is what it is.
It's not a wrong take. I hate it, but
that
it's
is
not
true.
Wrong.
I'm just saying.
Turning off Inspiring Presence for a horde of 60 zombies basically killed. And now it's even more, because Gargants, I think, just have that rule on their worst rule now.
Horror Gas, too. It did a number on them.
Horror Gas is really good,
Yeah.
Oh, man.
But also,
they were running that, which is hilarious.
I don't think we have one Nighthaunt list in here, so we're talking about them like they're this like huge deal, but I don't think we have a single one.
Nighthaunt haunts the 4-1 bracket, honestly. Like, they don't really, like, 5-0 super duper often.
Oh, I don't know about that. I think Ronja Anderson... I think she's from Sweden. I think she 5-0s with them. She's a beast with Nighthaunt.
Really good.
Yeah, really,
I don't know
really
if it's
good with
the
Nighthaunt.
list or if it's just her. I think it's her. Honestly.
No, it's her because she's doing this with the 2nd edition tome too.
Oh yeah.
So, but she's the only one that I've seen who consistently does 5-0s.
Well, we've got that big How to Counter Nighthaunt video coming soon, and we talk about this there that they're really being propped up by Season 1 bonuses, like Blade Guys fighting twice and getting almost no downside from Bounty Hunters and almost no downside from Purple Sun in Nighthaunt armies. Those are really propping them up right now. Do you think they're going to like drop down from 4-1 to like a 3-2 spot after the season's over?
No. I think their rules are still solid. They will simply switch the Blade Guys out for either Grimghast Reapers or Gormo Hero Hand. So they'll start playing. So now Kurdos you only see in like a couple lists. He will see way more play because he's just a better Celestin Prime and just a hard hitter. Same with Grimghast Reapers. 2-inch reach. Easy inclusion. Olander. What's the other hero they have?
Man.
Does Alrak is it fighter?
Dreadblade? You mean Alrak will probably see a little more play, but Dreadblade?
Yeah. So like those things that are like things that make heroes fightier will probably see more play. Like you'll start to see that combo with people we're talking about with the Knight of Shrouds on Steed, like making him a Mortal Wound Machine.
There we go. That's what I was trying to.
Yeah. So you'll start seeing that more.
You're gonna need a lot of Spirit Hosts for that.
But they're okay with that. I mean,
okay with that. I mean,
they're battle line, so
people are taking 6 to 9 anyway.
Yeah, and they won't be taking Bounty Hunters damage, so they'll be chilling.
GW, please make Praetors battle line.
Dude, for real. Anyways, sorry.
It wouldn't even be broken.
Let's move on.
It's like 3 models on it. Yeah.
We could get. We're gonna get really sidetracked.
Kaleb Walters playing Disciples of Tzeentch. Is this before or after the new book? I'm assuming before.
Before.
Okay.
Yeah, this is before. This was at Nova, so it was a big one. He not only went through the fire. So Nova has a top 8, kind of like LVO, where you play through to go 5-0 or as high as you can to get into the top bracket, and then you play 3 more games. So
Lord.
he went 8-0.
8-0. Perfect.
Yeah. yeah, Tzeentch, right? I believe that's how that one works, right? It's you play 3 more. That's what I saw on there anyway. And yeah, so Tzeentch, this is double bird incarnate, which is not fun. Because like you can kill a bird, then you have the other bird, you have to worry about the incarnate. You've got 3 things that you want to kill, and only so many resources to allocate.
I saw this game on stream against the Ironjawz player, and my head was in my hands. I'm like, what does the Ironjawz player even do? And the answer is
his brother too, Nick Walters.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. It's just they can't do anything. It's just so sad.
Well, they nerfed the heck out of Kairos and Tzeentch in general. No, not really. It's
still good.
The new book is good, but Kairos' specific style that he had previously is just obliterated.
It's different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's not going to do the D6 mortal wounds through a portal.
Well, six flat.
6.
Yeah, 6 flat. Yeah. I was about to say he'll do D6, but not 6 flat.
And hopefully we'll see nerfs to the Kronspine soon.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
I forgot this is the one that does have Kronspine in it.
This is when we talk about how it breaks the internal balance and like the kind of armies that aren't supposed to have a unit like this. This is what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Like everything in this army is designed to be weak but kills you at range with magic, and they have this incredibly durable anvil unit that's better than anything else and anyone else.
Mm-hmm.
Is it a coincidence that we made a live stream about internal versus external balance, and then like 3 weeks later they make an article about it? I don't know. Yeah. Yes, it is a coincidence. To be clear.
Yeah, they don't tell us anything. Not at all.
This is another one that the Purple Sun was 70 points, so this would have been illegal today for multiple reasons. I think the points in Tzeentch got shuffled up a bit as well. But no, this is putting it together. You know what, man? I'm not going to hate people who use the incarnate. I don't like it. It's boring to play against it. You just see it all the time. But they're min-maxing. What can you say, right? It's not their fault.
Guilty. Anyways,
next list?
Yeah, no, it's a good list. And actually, unless you guys have anything else on it, it's very simple, honestly. There's not too much to dig into.
Yep. The typical spell portal combo with Kairos, and then you've got your Jaws coming out when you get closer. Purple Sun affecting everything. Yeah, it's
just a lean, good list. I mean, it's only lean because the incarnate is just so efficient. But yeah, it's a good list.
Yeah.
Going on to his brother, who was 2nd place. We've got Nicholas Walters with the Ironjawz Bloodtoofs. So I think we've seen this list before somewhere. I don't know. It's a really rare list. You take a whole bunch of pigs, and but I thought this one was kind of cool because he's got the Fungoid Cave Shaman. I don't see that one very often.
Yeah, extra command points is really, really useful for Ironjawz, even if it is on a 4-up, I think, right? It's been a while since I've seen him in play. But he's surprisingly durable because of his ward, and he just sits in the back, generates command points, and casts Mystic Shield. It's just fine. Nothing wrong with him.
I like that he went for some different like command choices. Like Armor Gork Fasten is kind of interesting. He's a more defensive Maw Crusher, whereas the Mega Boss has the Destroyer. So that's kind of a cool threat. Kind of like that about the list.
Probably because the Mega Boss on Maw Crusher is like a big distraction card effects, right? He's trying to be as tanky as possible. People know they want to kill him so they can deny the Mighty Destroyer's ability. And I mean, for us, we figured out you just kill the pigs. That's the secret to beating Ironjawz. You just kill the pigs. They're not hard to kill. Well, 30 wounds on a 4-up is not trivial, but it's not hard either, right? So
they're horror-gastable.
Yeah, that's another problem with the 6 squad is that they're bravery 7, I think, 6 or 7. They're not a high bravery thing, so you kill like 5 of them, and the other 2 just run away.
Yeah.
Or 4 of them. Math.
Still a really good list. I like that Ironjawz can just be very simplistic, and I've been seeing a lot of 1-drop Ironjawz, and this one went for the Warlord Bounty Hunter. So
yeah, super high drop Ironjawz, and I figure it's like, well, you want to make me go first? Okay, I'm Ironjawz. I can attack wherever you deployed. You make me want to go second? Okay, I'm gonna all-out defense. I'm gonna screen with cheap pigs and all-out defense both units. You know, like take your losses. It's got some disposable gruntas and then some hammer gruntas. It could play first or second. When you have huge threat ranges, you can play first or second. Yeah,
I didn't think that they needed bounty hunters really, but you know, I don't know. Just because like the extra enhancement was really just
It's for
basically
Nighthaunt.
Destroyer.
Pretty sure it's for Nighthaunt.
Yeah, it's Nighthaunt because otherwise the War Chanter just says whatever you just did is.
Yeah.
That's fair. Yeah, the War Chanter does help a lot.
And you notice he's got 2 War Chanters and 2 units of 6 pigs. Yeah, he wants to make sure each hit that goes through is killing 2 ghosts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right, moving on.
Oh, sounds good. Oh, so someone in the chat has played this list. Do you want to take this one away, Ragonk?
Which list is this?
Gavin.
Oh, sorry. Oh,
Seraphon.
Gavin with Seraphon. All right, I'll go over it right quick. I forgot.
Yeah, no, it's okay. I know this list. Okay, so
yeah, he's very familiar with this one.
It's your yeah. So I actually fought this list this past weekend at the U.S. Open in round 3. Yeah, it's got Croak, Bear, the typical standard magic package of Seraphon. It's in Thunder Lizards, so all the Saurus and monsters are -1 damage. Insanely busted GW Police Fix. Saurus Guard to help protect the Slann, the Lord Croak in this instance. Expert Conquerors with lots and lots of skinks. I'm not sure if he had. I think he had 3 units of 10 skinks when he. I think that 20 skinks might be an error.
No, this is from a different event.
No, this is what he had.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Because against me, yeah. Okay, yeah. So anyway, 10 skinks, 10 skinks, 10 skinks. Engine of the Gods, Bastiladon, Solar Engine, and 2 with Arcosotech. In my instance, I think he switched it around. I think he had 2 Solar Engine and 1 Arcosotech.
He did.
And then Cogs and Horrorghast. So yeah, this list, the way it runs, Kurok essentially being your main spell engine, using Comet's Call. If something gets close, Deliverance of Itza, or whatever it's called, Celestial Deliverance now. Chronomantic Cogs to make the spellcasting more reliable, so they don't roll 1s, 2 1s, which happened in my game on round 3. Gavin rolled miscast on Croak first spell, and then that was like.
Yeah, this happened. First time I used Croak, that happened to me.
Yeah.
And then he died.
Horrorghast. And then the Horrorghast to essentially help out against hordes. This list generates a ton of command points. And the Skink Priest in this instance is there to do 2 things. Heal is pretty good for trying to heal someone, because the Skink Priest is a priest and can therefore use a prayer to try and heal some of the monsters, which aren't heroes, so that's really helpful, especially since the monsters have a bracketing save from a 2-up, that goes, a 1-up that goes all the way to a 4-up. But the other really, really important effect that Skink Priest has is he lets 1 unit run, shoot, and charge, which is really, really important because the Bastiladons with Solar Engines, or the Engine of the Gods for that matter, have a, I think, 5 or 6 inch move.
Yeah, Bastiladons move 5, engines move 8 or 10.
Yeah, engines, no, I know the engines move 5 too, because they have an effective threat range of 29.
Is it?
24 inch shooting and 5 inch.
Sure. It's been a while since I played Seraphon. I thought they were like a regular Seraphon.
Yeah. So the Bastiladons, but knowing that threat range, you can easily stay out of it with Raptors because you have a 30-inch threat range.
Yep.
But if they have a run and charge, then their threat range becomes a run and shoot. Sorry, then their threat range becomes a lot more dangerous because now you're talking about an extra 6 inches. That's possibly up to 35.
Yep. And they don't care about the extra command points. They generate so many, like you said, it doesn't matter.
They will generate 2. Even if they take first, Croak will roll 3 dice on a 4-up. They'll generate more. They'll probably do heroic leadership for another command point. This list will be operating at an average of 3 to 4 command points at all given. So they're never short of CP for anything. The other thing is the Skink Priest also has a command ability that lets any one of these like Solar Engine shooters have a +1 to hit on them. Meaning they're not using all-out attack in the shooting phase, but more importantly, if you put that in the hero phase on them, then they can use the Thunder Lizard command ability to double shoot at 3s.
In the shooting phase, yep.
In the shooting phase, yes. And that's really, really powerful.
It also lasts until your next hero phase, so if you go into combat, if you go into defensive shooting,
go to Unleash Hell.
Yep. Skink Priest,
it's
number
very,
1
very
target
dangerous.
every single time.
And Gavin actually changed up his list, I think, because he started to go for a Triumph, because he realized that if you put a Triumph, it lasts for the phase. So if you make it a Bastiladon double shoot, will double shoot on 2.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So, like a super, super dangerous list. Like, all the big lizards here are so just incredibly reliable. It's like survivable. And then the Engine of the Gods is just either putting out Saurus, doing mortal wounds, healing, just being an annoyance in general. No, the Skinks are actually really, really useful in Expert Conquerors, and you do want to focus them down. So it's like a bit of a target saturation. Like, do I target the Skinks that are 30 models and objectives? Do I target the engines that are killing me every turn? Do I target Croak, who really, it's a useless endeavor because he has Saurus Guard around him? I went for killing the Skink Priest. That made the game a lot easier. I sacrificed 240 points of Raptors to do it.
It's the right call, man. That
a l-
Skink Priest is worth like 600 points in this list. It's crazy.
Yeah,
So impactful.
luckily I rolled a 11 on my wild form, which made it a 12 with the Gur Battle Mage, so Croak couldn't unbind it.
Nice.
Turn 1, Chariot into Bastiladon, Annihilators into Bastiladon, and then the game was. I felt good about the momentum of the game. He still played a damn good game. It came down to a few dice rolls, which it's a dice game, it happens. But this is a super scary list, and I think Gavin's record previously is like something like 28-0.
Yeah. Gavin he had just dominated someone like the weekend before.
Oh, he's been on this package for a
yeah.
It's really good.
So yeah.
I'm pretty hype on this, like all in on the Bastiladons. Like I see people running like Seraphon with Croak Incarnate, and I don't think that's as efficient as this. I'll be honest.
No. I think Incarnate is actually worse than Seraphon.
I think Seraphon is just too efficient.
Because your own army is pointed so efficiently that it's weird to say that. Yeah, Incarnate is actually less efficient.
Well, yeah, arcs are only 165, right? Like, would you rather have a Chariot or a Bastiladon with the melee profile? Like,
they really?
Yeah, they're 165 at this point. They keep.
Yeah, the point slots are insane, man. Yeah, they're insane. Like Skink Priests are what, 90?
Something like that. They're under 100.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Priests for 100. Good lord.
Well, you put it into the number cruncher, and they only have 4 wounds and like a 5-up save. It's like, yeah, that's an 80-point hero. Sure. Okay. Best
doesn't matter for the
game.
fact that priests aren't there to fight anything. Like Lord Relictors are not there to fight. They're just there to pray, and they're 145.
They have
Good lord.
Ren 1-2 damage though.
Oh my god, 3 attacks, 4 attacks on Ren 1-2 damage. Such dangerous units.
Seraphon will get nerfed heavily with their 3rd edition book, and everybody else.
Yeah,
will
anything
rejoice.
anything that's a change to their current book will be a nerf. But this list is very powerful. It does require some finesse to play it, and just like yeet things in your opponent's. Gavin's one of the best players in AOS. He's a really good player. Super nice guy.
Yeah, it's easy to mess this list up too. Like it's definitely not just like plug and play. You can't just go.
Ironically, you know what? Like just hard counters this list.
What?
Comet Fall.
Oh, yeah.
Just dropping 5d3 mortal wounds on everything.
Okay. Yeah,
Game's
I mean
over.
it does.
Re-rack. Let's go.
Especially if the mission is Realmstone Cache, because this list is like tight packed in that tiny deployment zone. So it's like.
Oh, because you just drop all the mortal wounds in the world. Oh, man.
63 on round 1 and 3d3 every turn after that.
Disgusting.
Seems nice.
Oh, nobody will ever play it, though.
Yeah.
All right, next list. We have a Skaven list going 5-0.
Yeah. This one was at a local Big GT Crucible 10 fun time, despite a hurricane hitting like the day before. But it is what it is. We kept going. But yeah, so we got Shin on Skaven. This one was very all in on some shooting. I don't know if you noticed what that is. 3 Warp Lightning Cannons. But yeah, all in. And the 1 Engineer, which can buff all of them. I hadn't realized that the Engineer can buff all the Warp Lightning Cannons by himself.
Yeah.
But you've got a very normal tech with Thankwell on the skateboard. He's got Lauchon to get him into places. And fun tech on that one that I saw him actually use in the game. Lauchon works in your enemy turn too. So if he sticks around, if he's able to stick around, he can dip out.
Yep, if you don't unbind it, he'll start a hero phase. He'll just dip out.
So that was kind of a cool thing to see. But yeah, he's got 20 Storm Vermin to help, and the Warbringer, of course, to help, bring in some more melee damage as well. Pretty interesting list. The Warp Lightning Cannons, man, that's
they're
really
usually bad, but they're really good with it. And I think taking the Storm Vermin is the right choice, because you should kill, if you ever see Warp Lightning Cannons, you should kill the Engineer as soon as possible. And in this case, he has 20 Storm Vermin protect.
Yeah.
The Warbringer is also a good choice. You don't see Warbringers very often, but with Flaming Weapon and an Arcane Tome.
And Devious Adversary.
Yeah.
That's another one. So big damage coming out of that guy.
And Indomitable, by the way, as the Triumph, you almost never see that. But there's enough Night Haunt out there right now that you can't rely on Inspiring Presence, and you don't want to lose your Storm Vermin to like shooting and then a Horror Ghast or something. So you just Indomitable. You don't have to take you don't have to take the test.
Yeah, 1980, very safe to get it, and he's got his own Horror Ghast as well. So if Thankful gets in on something, pop them, get them going.
Yeah.
Yeah. It did a
Solid,
good job.
man.
It won.
I'm glad Skaven are putting up results because I think the going narrative, I guess, was that Skaven just wouldn't be viable in the season until they got rid of bounty hunters. But it seems like people are adapting and they're doing just fine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, just fine might be a stretch, but some people
Well,
people are making it work. That's good.
Yeah.
Without an incarnate.
Yes, without an incarnate. Skaven don't really want to take an incarnate. I don't see any of the top Skaven list taking incarnate at all.
You think they would?
I think their deployment is so busy that keeping it 3 inches out, like, what would you bound it to?
Yeah.
Any one of your wizards? Protected by Stormkeep.
And if they get shot off the board? The problem is, Skaven deployment is so tight that if the incarnate goes wild, it's likely to just kill them.
Yeah.
And they have better things they need to be doing.
You could just have it on a flank or something, right?
Magic.
You could stick it on a flank on its own, away from everything. Doesn't have to be centralized. Maybe.
Yeah, but then that makes the rest of your army easier to kill, right? Usually they want the threats, whatever it usually if they have like a wall of 20 rats, they want to have the storm fiends right up there, 6 inches away, so they can unleash into whatever tries to charge it.
Mm-hmm.
They're not. The incarnate doesn't gel well with what they're trying to do. Not to say that it can't work, but it's just not a good, necessarily the best.
Yeah. Hey Ian, did we talk about Night Haunt yet? We've kind of talked about them. We've got a big video about them coming soon, so stay tuned for that. But if you have any specific questions you'd like us to answer, feel free to shoot them in the chat.
Yeah, man. But yeah, that's a pretty good little Skaven list there.
Yep.
An interesting time.
Moving on to John Weretka, and I'm assuming I pronounced that correctly.
I can't say one way or the other, but John's a good friend of mine and a really good Sylvaneth player. He just hopped on Sylvaneth this year and has made some really big splashes on that. But yeah, he's playing Gnarlroot, which is kind of interesting. It's a different one. I totally blanked on what Gnarlroot does. Wow. Do you remember, Paul?
Oh, geez, off the top of my head. Isn't that the casting
Blanked
one?
on Gnarlroot. Wow.
I think Gnarlroot's the casting one, right?
I have to check. I can't believe I forgot it. And I'm going to get a lot of crap for it the next time I talk to John. So Gnarlroot is it is the cast. You make a cast and bind Holy Within. You can roll 3d6 instead of 2d6, so once per turn.
Yeah, that's the one people were pretty much hot on with the Warsong Revenant, just to make them more consistent. Going forward, though, I don't think that's going to work, man. The anti-magic that we see in Lumineth and Stormcast and Tzeentch and Skaven, that's gonna obliterate Gnarlroot, I think.
He's definitely been testing like the dwindling lately for the reroll, so it's kind of interesting. But anyways, sorry, going on. He does have a 3-drop here. Very typically, he's got the Arch Revenant, so he's giving a +1 to wound buff. He's got the Warsong Revenant, which is mainstay, of course, with Spellsinger. Verdant Blessing for the healing. Arcane Tome, of course, making another entrance, as always, into the list. Battle Mage, which the Battle Mage is here to combo with the Spite Swarm Hive.
Yeah.
And what a combo. +5 to charge turns out is really good.
+5 to charge after teleporting, and you can re-roll it with a command point. Yeah, that's a very reliable charge.
Yeah.
That's like Gabriel Shoreheart using 2 CP back in.
Yeah.
That's a
this is like, I would say if you had to pick a typical Sylvaneth list, it would look something like this. Maybe it might not include a Tree Lord and Aether Wings. It might try to include some shooting instead. Maybe a couple Kernauts with great bows or some Gossamet archers even. But this is I think this is kind of what Sylvaneth are coalescing into. You've got Warsong Revenant, he's a core. Arch Revenant buffing Kernauts is a core, and then fill it with 3 Revenants for screens, and then some Revenant Seekers to revive. The teleporting scythes are so very good at what they do. They're Rend 3, 2 damage apiece, which is, it's good, but like Grand Hammers do it better. Like Rend 3 is good until it's not, right? Like,
right, but like Grand Hammers also don't teleport back after they're done hitting.
Yeah,
that's
and especially Grand Hammers can't teleport back near a Tree Lord, which then has the monstrous rampage to fight last.
Yeah,
let something fight last.
It's different. All I'm saying is like the 6 sites are like the only really high damage, high threat unit in the Sylvaneth army in terms of melee combat, and that's how you're going to kill Gargants with this list. Like, I don't think this list is going to struggle with that particular matchup.
Yeah, not with the DPS check. I've seen him win. Well, not necessarily with this exact list, but against Nurgleflies. But the sides do a really good job with that. 6 Revenant Seekers is actually a good, pretty good hammer as well, but definitely not as common as the Kurnoths with sides.
6, he has 3 in this list, right? Or did I misread
Yeah, he's got 3.
Okay.
Yeah, you can't really fit 6 sides. You don't really want to go like 6 sides, 6 Seekers. You know,
well,
like overcommitting.
There was a different Sylvaneth list we were talking about that I think it had 10 Gossamids, 6 Scythes, and 6 Seekers. Like it ran a triple threat package. Whereas Sylvaneth are typically running a dual threat package. Like even this, I'd say, is mono threat. Like the Tree Lord's not a big hitter. The Seekers aren't a big hitter. Like this is one threat. If you can kill those 6 Kurnoths, what does this list do? I guess the Revenant, Warsong Revenant can ping you down, but like really, it's the sides, right?
If you can kill those 6 Kurnoths,
they're gonna make it hard.
Big one. They're a 3-up.
Yeah, because they're gonna count. Yeah, they're gonna be in cover. They'll probably have a Mystic Shield on them. Like all kinds of. They'll be protected by a Tree Lord with a fight last. But realistically, the Tree Lord and the Hunters are the only real like damage.
Well, the Revenant,
the Revenant Seekers can, but they're ultimately they're hitting on 4, so like it's fine. Like there's also only 3 of them that you can deal with.
Yeah, that's fair. Taking out the Revenant Seekers actually I think is a lot of value early. So you're removing that
a lot of their mobility.
Yeah,
recursion and mobility.
And mobility, yep. The Tree Lord doesn't move very much without having to use the same thing that the Hunters need to use to get in.
Yeah, because think about this. Everything in this list, except for the Seekers, has to use teleporting to get anywhere. Because they're all super slow. And if Kurnoths are teleporting... That's what I'm saying. Aside from the Seekers, everything's super slow. So if you kill the Seekers, the list doesn't go anywhere. It's just going to keep throwing Hunters and killing screens. And I think that's another problem with this list, is it doesn't do a good job killing screens. So those Hunters are going to teleport and kill something, teleport back, but it's like... probably going to be like a 5-man squad of Liberators or 10 Thralls or something. Like it's not going to be a significant kill each time. But I'd be curious to know what the matchups were, because this list has some serious downsides, and I'm wondering what they played against.
Yeah, I can definitely look into that here. The Revenants do have a teleport of their own, so they are able to get around the board, at least. So that's one way to kind of.
I think Tree Lord does too, right?
Tree Lord has his own as well.
Oh, he does. That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so they do have some teleporting going around. And then
but still, generally you're going to be striking and fading one thing a turn.
Yes,
so
that's
the Tree Lord is good for getting in with the Kurnoths should they need to take down something big. Like if you have a really tough model you need to take out, but you don't intend on striking and fading away because you want to stay there under the Tree Lord's protection around. Then you can Battle Mage 1, Spite Stormhive the other. Tree Lord teleports on his own. Kurnoth teleport with the Walk the Tree Paths. You charge them in. Kurnoth makes them fight last, and then you hit with 2 units before they ever get to hit you, and then you delete it.
So yeah, I mean, he's got a good game plan going on here, and it's a very well thought out list. It's a really good Sylvaneth list, and he did go 5-0. He was second place at Crucible.
Cool.
But he did go 5-0 with it. So
what were the matchups?
Not many Sylvaneth 5-0s. Let's look in. Yeah, so let's bring that up here. His first matchup was into. Is that the right one? Okay, yes it is. So he's got Cruel Boys coming in.
Okay.
It's a Kragnos Cruel Boys with 2 reinforced sets of Bolt Boys. Gut Rippers, Slitters. It's literally one set of Gut Rippers.
So it's not Grit and Blades then. It's Big Yellers.
Yep, it's Big Yellers.
Sides can kill Kragnos.
Yeah, I think he just kills Kragnos and then continues to destroy things.
Two blocks of 9 Bolt Boys though. If he doesn't strike, he's just going to strike and fade after fighting Kragnos, so it doesn't matter.
I don't know if the Bolt Boys... I mean, he can get out of range of the Bolt Boys very easily.
Yeah, out of range and out of sight.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a favorable matchup, I'd say.
Because you don't have to kill the Bolt Boys outright immediately, You've got Wildwoods you can put down, Next matchup was into Blades of Corn, very typical... not typical. This was not 3 Bloodthirsters, it was 2 Bloodthirsters, and kind of a 3rd Bloodthirster with Mazerol the Butcher. It's a model. It's a Forge model, I believe.
Oh, the huge
not very
dragon.
Commonly seen. No.
Okay.
Forget what the. I think it's like a Minotaur. I don't remember. And Brad, if you're watching this, I'm so sorry. I know the player. But yeah, it's basically 3 Bloodthirsters.
Okay.
So very typical, Reapers of Vengeance list.
Strike and fade, you win that matchup.
Yep. So this one, yeah, I could see him just easily, and it had a Kronspine.
Oh, that's interesting.
So yeah, three Bloodthirsters with the Kronspine is pretty something I'm seeing a lot.
Kronspine is carrying half the factions in the game, man.
But yeah, no, I can see this. I mean, Sylvaneth just plays around with melee lists. You know, Sylvaneth is basically a shooting army. Sides are basically a big shooting unit. You know, they get in, they get out, they don't hold. So, yeah, Khorne doesn't like shooting.
And what else did they play?
Let's see. Next one would have been this was a Magakin list with the Glockkin. So this one, I mean, it's a kind of a DPS check. It was a bunch of Blight Kings, so a reinforced set of Blight Kings and 2 min sets with a Glockkin and Globe.
Bounty Hunter Battalion Kurnoths are going to cut through that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Plus, because he can put them on -4 around a place.
Each Kurnoth scythe is Celestin Prime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you really want to, you can deep strike further than 9 inches and still make it in just fine.
Yeah, you can essentially deep strike outside of the Blitzkrieg, counter charge thing, and because you have a +5, you don't care. You only need to roll a 4.
You don't care.
And if they charge into you, who cares? You just fight whatever charge into you and teleport back.
Yeah, it's not like you have charged mortals or anything, or you're relying on a 7-inch re-rolling. I might have lost that matchup. Anyways, next one was an Ironjawz list. So that was pretty standard one. Double Maw Crusher list. One you've seen every time.
He's cleaning up all these melee armies.
Yeah, that's a lot of melee armies, right? The last one though was actually still kind of a melee army. It was good buddy Doug playing Stormcast Knights Excelsior. He loves his paladins, and he went for dual Grand Hammers with an Imperative, of course. Relictor with all the fittings, and he did have 4 protectors though. Or no, sorry, not 4 protectors, but I looked at the 4 Star Soul Maces and it threw me off. A reinforced set of protectors. And Fulminators. So he's got a Battle Mage Relictor combo, get protectors in,
so no
or
shooting.
Fulminators in. And he's got 10 Adjudicators with crossbows. So he's really in your face, like, he's going to send up, he can send up Protectors, for example, drop Grand Hammers to all, like, dual charge with, Adjudicators behind the Protector line. So pretty
good.
all in
Those
list.
scythes just cut through Protectors, man.
But
3 damage apiece. Ren 3 is brutal. Without Gardas and Castellant, that's a rough sale.
I believe what he did in this matchup is actually like kill the heroes, because if you get rid of the heroes here, this list is very hero reliant. If you don't have the Imperative, you're not making the 7-inch charges. You don't have really that much screening, because what starts on the board is like Fulminators, Protectors, stuff you don't want to lose. If the Battle Mage dies, it makes it harder for the Protectors to get teleported to the Fulminators, for example.
How does he kill the heroes? They're behind stuff, right? I mean,
there's only so much screening you can do, It's like, I think over the turns, you take out something important, because what are you going to screen with? Protectors and Adjudicators and Fulminators?
I guess I'd have to see the list. He doesn't have any libs or anything?
No.
Oh, well, there's your problem.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's no screening at all. Everything in the list is a damage dealer. So what you can screen with here is Protectors, Fulms, and Adjudicators.
This is why we rank Liberators as S tier, guys. Like, they're useless, but they're the best at the same time.
This was the top table match. He was going 4-0 at that point.
Yeah, beating up a bunch of melee lists. That's pretty slick. That's a big part of going 5-0, right? Like, or even going 4-1 is like matchup dependent, and that's fine. It's a dice game.
Yeah. But still a really cool tournament. So congrats, John.
All right, next one. Rob Mulshine with a big Waaagh. A 5-0 big Waaagh using Gordrak and Gobsprak.
Yes, this was at Chicago Open.
This just happened. This was like yesterday.
Yeah, this just
was like yesterday. Yeah, it's pretty good. He's basically going for max Waaagh points, trying to make his whole army really efficient. It's like a big Waaagh essentially works like Blood Rights, but gets off of Waaagh points, and then just generates so many Waaagh points, and actually saw him take on some pretty mean lists. He actually won against a Marathi Kronspine list.
Yeah, this was a 5-0, which is pretty awesome. I like the Gnashing Jaws. I think that's cool. Gobsprak is actually a really good, really decent caster. Like, he's not like amazing, but Gotrek is pretty interesting caster.
He's
I
good
like
by
that
orc
on Unbind.
standards.
He does mortals, pretty fun. But I didn't expect to see like Gordrak and Gobstrak combo. That's awesome. I mean, he's got the Prophet, so that's a pretty normal, like take for Big Waaagh. Mask guy, scary. War Chanter to give, the pigs, the bonus.
Or Gordrak, +1 damage.
Or
Yeah.
Gordrak, yeah. And then some shooting. He's got Bolt Boys and the Killbow, which is, I don't know.
That's the first time
an
I've seen the
interesting
Killbow in a tournament list.
Yeah, I've seen. Yeah, in a 5-0 list. Yeah.
I
mean, I saw his gameplay. It's actually pretty sweet because, like, people are bringing the Kron Spine. That thing allows him to like put a really huge amount of damage on the Kron Spine without risking a lot of.
Yeah, you're right. It counts as 18 wounds, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. I like that. That's a neat tech, huh? And he's got a bunch of
So
artwork.
it's really cheap. I think like 130 points for a ballista. Aim shot is what, 2s and 3s at -2.
And then the damage is 2 plus the number of 5s you roll.
Mhm.
Yep, and then it's like the damage characteristic equal to 2. Yeah, 2 plus the number of 5s up to a max characteristic of 12. That combined with the Bolt Boys can put about 14 damage on Kron Spine, which is about what you ideally like. Mathematically, it puts you at favorable odds if you put like 13 to 14 damage.
You want to go over 12 for sure.
I also like
He's very
I like the
comfortable.
Gruntas here in Bounty Hunters rounding it out because you stick War Chanter on squad of 3 Gruntas and they suddenly start doing real good damage against veterans. I like that a lot. 3 damage. Ren 2, 3 damage apiece is really good.
Mm-hmm.
Even the Prophet is kind of hype into Night Haunt. It's just straight mortals. There's some interesting like stuff going on.
I'm going to need you to explain the Prophet because I haven't seen one in literally over a year.
It's
It's
like
the one that does the staring game.
Yeah.
It looks at something within 12. It rolls a 3-up. If it rolls a 3-up, it takes D3 mortal wounds. If it rolls below a 3, it takes D3.
Yeah. So you're
And
just
it
playing
keeps
the game.
doing it until It keeps doing it until it dies, or you kill the target.
Hey,
It can do a lot of
Gargant, you feel
mortals.
lucky?
Yeah. It's efficient. It works a lot more than you'd think.
Okay.
Yeah. That's a really neat list. Cool, Big Waaagh.
I
to
think
see
Big
that.
Waaagh is probably what Ironjawz need to pivot to. Like you still see them do well, and I'm glad they're doing well, but without shooting, I don't understand how to play this game. I just need to be able to do something at range, man. I can't just be hitting stuff to win. My brain's not wired that way.
I mean, you can be ranged with melee. You just move 36 inches across the board and charge what you want to.
No, you just charge the screens. That's what happens.
Yeah. Just depends, man. You get a good stomp. You push through. I don't know.
I guess. I'm just not wired for it, I guess.
Different strokes.
Let's move on to a Koatl's Claw Seraphon list that went 5-0 and took first place at the Chicago
And
Open.
yeah, you want to go over this one, Paul?
Okay,
good
so
Seraphon
I've
player.
said multiple times that I think Koatl's Claw is the worst of the 4 sub-factions, and I stand by that, despite what we're seeing here. Just because...
It just shows the power of Seraphon.
Yes,
that if you're
it's
worse
the
of
worst,
faction,
but
it's like Angels of the Helden Hammer taking a 5-0.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just it's good. It's just the worst choice. That doesn't mean it's objectively bad. If you look at the Seraphon list, it has the typical core of a Slan. It's got 2 Skink heroes. It's got the Star Priest and the Star Seer. You don't usually see a Skink Priest, but if you're not going Thunder Lizard or if you're not going usually with you're trying to drop them into play with Dracothian's Tail, you can actually skip the Skink Priest. You've got Celestin Prime here as an ally, which is really, really interesting because you typically don't see Celestin Prime at all these days. He's pretty rare, right? But he's a very interesting piece to drop in. People don't use the Starseer enough, and I think the Starseer is fantastic. He has, by himself, he can give a unit a 3d6 charge. At the start of the charge phase, you just pick a Seraphon unit, boom, it can charge 3d6. That's incredibly strong. If you think about a Carnosaur moving 10 or 12 inches and then a 3d6 charge on top of that, like think of Kragnos charging 3d6, and every unit in this army can do that because of the Starseer. It's really, really useful. 5 Chameleon Skinks going to pop out of nowhere and steal your objectives. Bastiladon with Solar Engine all of a sudden just charging 3d6 in your face. Like, this is a really good ability. And then the Skink Starseer's spell, which is either you pick a Seraphon unit and give it +1 save, or you pick an enemy unit and give it -1 save. That's like that was Purple Sun before Purple Sun was a thing. Right, so suddenly your Bastiladon's shooting at Rend 2. Suddenly your Knights actually have Rend and they're doing meaningful damage. Suddenly your Celestant Prime is at Rend 4. Your Carnosaur is at Rend 3 with the Jaws. Like, you can actually do or Rend 2. I think it's still Rend 1 in the book. Yeah, Starseer is an excellent piece here.
Those are your Source Knights in Bounty Hunters too.
Yeah, so they're gonna rip up. They're gonna rip a lot of ghosts. That's what they're gonna do.
They have a lot of attacks and they'll get poison on all of them.
Yeah.
6 to wounds are gonna do a ton of damage.
Yeah. The Slant Star Master is going to generate a bunch of command points. He's going to be pinging stuff. He's going to be casting Mystic Shield, swapping out his spell every turn to whatever he needs. He's going to break your artifacts. He's going to, like, there's just a lot going on with Seraphon that you can stick it in any of the sub-factions, and it does pretty well. Like, it's got, you can see here, it's also got a Bastiladon outside of Thunder Lizard and also outside of Starborn, so you're not really taking advantage of that +1 save. It's still super durable, and even when it's on 4s and 3s and not double tapping, that's still fine.
Well, it'll be on 3s and 3s. He almost always all out.
Yeah, you'll AoE it, but like that's still good. There's nothing wrong with that, right? Like, it's not super reliable, but when it's that durable, it's going to shoot multiple times, and sometimes it swings super high. So
yeah.
Ragonk, let us. How did your game against this go? Did I give it a fair breakdown?
Not too good. It was Rumstone Cache, so it was like where that objective in the center, which is possibly one of the worst battle plans. The turns, like, I made it maybe like a couple of slip decisions, but overall it's just like none of the dice went my way. Spells didn't work. Translocation, like over 2 turns I rolled 1s. Raptor volleys, like I did like 18 shots into him. I think I rolled like 8 or 9 1s on those.
Oof.
My Chariot had a Mystic Shield and all-out defense, so like nothing he had could get through a 2-up save. He put like 10 saves on me. Chariot was alive on like 5 wounds. I rolled like 8 1s, I think.
Oh man. Well,
Annihilators,
that's
like
for
the first time, this was the only failed charge I had the whole time. They failed their charge, like my drop, whatever, like my 7-inch drop failed its charge. It was just like, I was like, all right. And then one time, though I did get Annihilators into him, I put him on like 7 saves, 5-up. He rolled like 4 5s and 2 6. I'm like, okay, well, I'm not killing him. So it's not.
That game was it's a binomial distribution, and that game was the tail end that you've been dodging for so long.
Yeah. It was all the karma came back to bite me.
You made every single Annihilator charge before that game. So
yeah,
that was the other end of the distribution, coming to remind you that it's a dice game.
Yep.
That was also your 3rd Seraphon game in a row. Like, dude, I don't know if I'd have
I faced Sylvaneth, Seraphon.
I would not have.
And then as that palate cleanser, I got Ironjawz round 5, who I removed off the table. I was so pissed.
Shot the pigs, right?
No, it wasn't even pigs. It was like, well, there were pigs, but he was running the Choppas, and he was
okay.
4-1 as well. He had brutes and pigs, and he had the War Chanter ability that in Choppas where he does the +1 damage on 3 units.
Yeah, 3 units instead. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, like Seraphon are really good. Probably due for nerfs at this point. It's just like they've nerfed everything else and reworked so many armies. Seraphon sitting around.
I think it's the heroes. I think the heroes I think the heroes are too good. Like when we talk about how trash our support hero cast is, I don't think there's a bad support hero.
Seraphon are like the opposite of Stormcast. We have well-priced units and very poorly priced heroes. Seraphon have incredibly well-priced heroes and poorly priced units. Like 250 for a Bastiladon, that's not worth it in a vacuum ever.
I don't know about that.
In a Seraphon
like, once
army,
you start going up the 1-up save, I don't know.
Would you ever use one as an ally?
Yeah.
Well, no, not as an ally, but that's because I don't have a Skink Priest that's giving it run and charge and +1 to hit before all-out tag.
Well, the Skink Priest is good though. Yep. That's the thing.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like,
really good.
Yeah, if my Castellan, like if I had a Castellan for 100 points, that could give a Bastiladon +1 save and +1 to hit. Yeah, I would do that. I would absolutely.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Their heroes are costed well. Yeah. Like, too well, perhaps, because the rest of their units aren't. So, like...
I don't know. 1-up save and -1 damage is worth 250. Like if I'm looking at an Annihilator with shields being 200, if an Annihilator with shield had -1 damage, I would put it at 230.
But, yeah, to be fair, though, you have to play a specific sub-faction to get that, and then you can't teleport. Like, I'm trying to get a general point across here that the heroes are
Yeah.
undercosted,
Yeah.
and if they're going to start nerfing Seraphon, I think it's finally time for the Skink Priest to be like 120 points. Like his
Yeah.
support package is so good. All these heroes are way too cheap for what they do.
And to be fair, Annihilators for shields are already like 240 because tax.
Shield Annihilator should
Oh,
be
yeah.
a lot cheaper.
So it's still the same thing.
But anyway, congrats to him. It's a super good list. Last I saw, he was facing off against Anthony Trentinelli, who's a really good player, and he actually faced the Tzeentch double Lord of Change, like Kairos Lord of Change incarnate, and he beat it. Good for him.
Yeah. I also want to point out that Seraphon are one of those armies that their internal balance has been so whack for so long that GW has been reducing the points on some things. Like Bastillodons with Arc of Sotek are 165. Carnosaurs I think are like 215.
They're
Mhm.
215, yeah.
And they've
But
just
then they gave them like all the command points ever.
Yeah, like all
Because I think the third edition changes this like ramp that book.
Yeah, the third edition changes are going to be real interesting, and I will definitely be starting a Seraphon series on this channel.
Yeah. It's a key.
The Star Keep probably, or the Sotek Keep. I don't know. We'll think of a name. Okay, so what have we noticed from these lists? Because this is the last list. What have we seen?
Seraphon needs to be nerfed.
Yes.
Seraphon is pretty strong.
They're just a little bit too good. And a big part of that I think is the -1 damage effect. I don't like that effect in general. I wish they would think of a different ability to make units more durable, because it's either the most incredible effect in the game or it's totally useless.
Yeah.
I wish they would do a, this is just me throwing thoughts out there. Do you think halving damage rounding up is better than -1? Like if Annihilators, like, do you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah. So 3 would go to 2, 2 to go to 1. Or no, 2 would go to 1, 3 to go to 2.
Yeah.
It's stronger than -1, yeah, in general. Even if you round up, it's still stronger.
So
Yeah.
maybe -1 damage should not exist, or should only exist conditionally. I think the biggest problem is like removing the Saurus Knights is a pain. It's an absolute pain in the butt if you're for Raptors or anything. I don't think it should exist on anything but the monster. Having your cheap battle line, because Saurus are what, like 100 points, 110?
Like there are other mechanics in the game that reflect durability. Like we have this cool thing called a ward. Why don't we just use that? It's effective health, but it's always effective health unless you have a very rare ability to disable wards.
But like if you look at Saurus Knights, they're basically cheaper than Liberators. They're 110.
They are.
Right? They're not great with attacks, but you have like heroes to sort that out.
Oh,
but
they got
they're
a ton of
-1
attacks.
damage.
Mhm.
Yeah, can you imagine like Liberators with -1 damage at 100? It'd be insane.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I don't think it should happen on their like regular battle line. I think that's a little too much, or at least the point should go up.
I don't disagree. All I'm saying is I think the problem is the -1 damage effect itself. I think that needs to be. They need to figure out something else for this army and for Night Haunt and for Daughters of Cain when they have their thing up. The -1 damage is just not a good thing for this game to have.
Yeah,
it's my opinion. So that's one thing. That's one thing we've noticed. Bounty Hunters is in almost every single list, right? And that's probably what's constricting the meta so much. Like when season 1 was first announced, we thought, oh man, 30 blocks of witches are going to be insane. They can fight in 2 ranks all the time. And really the only armies that are using big blocks are sometimes Night Haunt. What else is using large blocks of dudes? 20 Dryads, I guess.
20 Dryads.
Well, Skaven have to. Clan Rats come in 20s. You can't do anything about that. But like zombies are gone.
I'd net Deepkin are taking a bunch of Reavers.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah. But it's pretty much not the case, right? Like this season was supposed to be about buffing infantry that's trying to fight in 2 ranks, and I think Bounty Hunters has overcorrected. It's really cool that there's finally something that properly competes with Battle Regiment. Like we don't see a lot of pure 1-drop armies anymore. That's pretty rare. Dan?
But that's the thing. I was actually just about to point that out. Out of our 11 lists here, 3 of them don't have Battle Regiment, and you just take Battle Regiment with Bounty Hunters.
Yeah, that's all it's pivoted to.
Both.
Yeah. But it's still better than just having Battle Regiment. But I think we're at a point now. I guess we can move into a discussion about what we expect in the Battlescroll shortly. But I think it's time for Battle Regiment to get nerfed. Like something's got to happen. If Bounty Hunters isn't enough to pull people away from the Battle Regiment, I don't know what would be. That battalion is too good.
Yeah, because the people realize the best force multiplier isn't a +1 damage. It's actually having a whole another turn. Do whatever you.
Yeah.
If the game is determined in 2 rounds, and you can determine the order in the first round, that's a huge advantage. That's a bigger advantage than almost anything else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're controlling half the game, pretty
most
much.
armies.
Battle Regiment either needs to go or needs to be really restricted. So like maybe like 2 leaders and 3 units, or 2 leaders and 2 units. Like a small regiment that you can use to lessen your drops if you can't find a force organization for anything.
Yeah, but then people would just bring as many of those, and we'd end up with, I don't know, 3 drop is the new 1 drop. You know what I mean? Like, it.
Yeah,
kind of how it is now, but
it's kind of how it is now. But the thing is, like at that point, people would actually be considering taking other like drops. Like if you're like, let's say I mean, obviously I'm not a game designer, so they could remove it or like change it. Let's say you have 2 leaders and 3 units. So now people can either build 2 leaders, 3 units, and then maybe take a couple of bounty hunters or expert conquerors, and that really warps what they can take and not take. Or if they have to take a 3rd and 4th leader, then they have to increase their drops. But there's people who are going to be making these hyper-efficient lists that are efficient in dropping, but not necessarily in terms of what unit compositions they're taking.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned expert conquerors, because I actually feel like the solution here isn't necessarily to, like I said, nerf battle regiment. But what I mean is, like, I don't want it to be so prevalent. Maybe the solution here is to just make good core battalions that have good bonuses that you want to take. Like, what if there was a core battalion where you have to take, I don't know, 2 leaders, 2 troops, and a monster, and the bonus is the monster enemies have -1 to wounded or something, right? Like you form specific core battalions that every army can get access to in order to get specific bonuses on specific units. Like, I really like bounty hunters and expert conquerors right now because I'm picking certain units and I'm customizing them in my list because I want them to do specific tasks. And battle regiment is like, no customization, play 1 drop because best chance of winning. And that's a lot less interesting. So maybe the solution here is they revamp the core battalions.
Yeah, like I think more interesting. I think bonuses for your army would be great. Like I'm surprised we don't just have a battalion. I mean, we do because we're strong. But there needs to be a battalion where like a simple like 1 leader 3 troops battalion where this leader can issue once per game an all-out attack to one of them. Like even that like. Just remove battle regiment and start putting things like that.
That exists. We have that.
Yeah,
no, that doesn't exist. It exists with artillery, not. With...
Oh yeah, you're right.
Oh well, I guess all-out attack, but like, even then, I like what Paul's talking about, where you limit the composition more. Because right now, like bounty hunters, for example, bounty hunters are so easy to use. You just stick in 3 troops.
Yeah, bounty hunters would be more interesting if you had to stick like a sub commander in there as well.
Yeah, if you had to start taking up, like other things. I like that it's not just the unit that's getting buffed that you're worrying about.
Yeah, you're giving up other units being in other battalions in order to buff specific units.
The problem is Battle Regiment is also like super liberal because Battle Regiment, I think the minimum is 1 hero and 2 units.
Yes.
Yeah.
That 1 hero can go up to 3 and the 2 units can go up to 5 and you can put in artillery. Wow, that's your whole army. Like, what do you?
Well,
like,
it's because they wanted to keep 1 drops in the game in 3rd edition, and I think it's time to get rid of that, or at least make the alternatives so good that people don't always default to 1 drop. Like, what if that artillery battalion, for example, what if that was, because there's so many, like, random, artillery and D6 are, like, a normal pairing, right? It's always D3 or D6 for artillery. What if that battalion was, I don't know, hero and 1 or 2 things? It's like, this artillery
reroll the damage roll.
Reroll the damage roll, or minimum 3 if it's D6, or minimum 2 if it's D3, something like that. Like a powerful
I think they
don't
want to stray away from battalion effects that are like already outlined. Like I don't know if you saw the chart.
They could.
Other than maybe the GHP battalion.
That's what I'm saying. GHP would be the time to do this. Like this wouldn't be a Battlescroll thing. This would be like new season. We're revamping all the core battalions. Because remember, 1st and 2nd edition, they were massively shifting around the core rules of match play a lot. It was like here's 6 new terrain types that you can use, right? Like overgrown and quaking and volcanic and all that stuff. Like they were messing around with all kinds of stuff with those General's Handbook, and they can do it again. There's nothing saying they can't. They could just say, hey, you know what, those core battalions in the core book? Nope, we're not using them. In this season, here's 6 new core battalions that, here's your battle regiment, it's a little bit changed, and here's like really good battalions you want to pick. So I think that would probably be, or just get rid of battle regiment entirely. I don't know. I don't know if you could ever offer.
I think it's time to get rid of it. I think that Battle Regiment is also the reason none of these, like, okay, like the faction battalions may not be as good, but they're interesting. They're fun. They will never see play as long as Battle Regiment exists.
Would you rather see Battle Regiment removed, or would you rather see rolling for round 1 removed? Or sorry, rolling for round 1 implemented. So it's not guaranteed.
There wouldn't be a
40K.
point of. Are you saying like roll for round and whoever finishes dropping has that advantage?
Like in the core rules, it says you're supposed to roll for round 1, and like you do in 40k, the person who finished deploying first wins the tie. I think that might be the way to go.
Yeah, that'd be okay too. Sure. I just don't want the person who goes first to have the guaranteed, like, because they have to then go through 2 dice rolls instead of just saying you go first and then 1 dice roll will determine whether I kill you.
Right, and because the way you deploy is like, well, I don't know if I'm going to go first or second, so I immediately have to. If I deploy aggressively,
honestly, I wouldn't even do that. I would just make it so you have to go first turn 1 if you roll high. That's it.
Oh.
And there's no choosing.
Yeah, I'm down with that.
That's remove Battle Regiment and just say, I win ties if I drop. So there's actually a detriment to dropping early, and then like 40k. If I roll higher, if I roll a 5 and you roll a 4, I have to go first. Can't like give it away.
I'm okay with that. For round 1, the player who wins the roll-off has to go first. I'm okay with that. It just randomizes who goes first.
Yep.
I think that might be the issue here, is like everybody cares about 1-drop because it determines who gets to go first, which leads into who gets to go first in round 2-3. It determines if you get the double or if you have to play defensively. And too many games are still determined by the 1-2 double. Like I despise that. That's still the state of the game after so many changes. But it's true. It sets you up in a position where you almost can't lose too many times. And this isn't really, like, this becomes less of a problem, I'd say, as you get really, really competitive with the game. People play back, they play more reserved, they anticipate double turns. But I think it ruins too many players' games, and the fact that it can still swing that much, it's too much. It's too much power in your army composition. If bounty hunters can't do it, like, what possibly could?
Bounty hunters, like, +1 damage. But anyways, back to the tier list, maybe.
Okay, so last time, I'm gonna shrink this here. I'm gonna do some fancy things here. See if I can. All right, I just gotta shrink it entirely. We're down here in the corner, boys. All right, so this is where we left off on our tier list discussion the last time we did a Realm Report. We put Nurgle and Seraphon in S tier, which are consistently going 5 wins. We didn't talk about Nurgle at all today in any of our lists, but I think S tier is still appropriate just from playing the game. You can tell.
I mean, we could put flies, like you see how we have like Dragon Ogres, for example. We could put flies as S tier. I think Nurgle's.
Frankly, I'm ready to put Dragon Ogres in S tier. They're so ridiculous.
They are pretty good.
My stipulation for not doing it last time was like, I want to see results. We still haven't seen as many results because it's not a popular army. Just like Nurgle's actually not really that popular anymore. But damn, is it strong. Dragon Ogre spam is stupid. So I'm willing to put it up into S tier if you guys still feel that way.
I'd still put it
I agree.
with the Battlescroll. I mean, we know the Battlescroll, they're talking about it, you know. That's already been in the verbiage, so
we don't know anything.
Well, we don't know. Okay, that's fair. Like, I told Kybits in the chat earlier. I'm like, 95%.
Yeah.
They're still.
Wait, 95% what?
95% that they still nerf Dragon Ogres.
Okay.
There's still that 5% chance.
They'll probably just up the points, which is deserved, but yeah.
Yeah. Probably.
170, just like picks. They're the same thing.
We were torn on Night Haunt being A or S. I think A is more appropriate. Like you said, they're pulling a lot of 4-1s. There's so many, like, Bounty Hunters is really keeping them in check right now. I think that's for sure. And the Purple Sun nerf did not help them because they were leaning on the Purple Sun.
Do you think it's also Bounty Hunters, but also do you think it's like armies like Seraphon and like Tzeentch? Oh, sorry, not Tzeentch.
Oh, yeah, magic armies tear them up.
The magic, yes.
Yeah, so like I think Seraphon tears them up. I think DOK can sometimes tear them up.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
If Bounty Hunters goes away, though, Night Haunt are going to have a lot more favorable matchups. Because right now, they're like even
Bone
against some
Splitters,
armies.
believe it or not, have a good matchup in it.
Just mass dice.
Just mass dice. And you don't care about your defense because you're like, I have a 6-up ward on all.
Yeah.
And you don't, and then you can run the ignore wards.
Plus, Kragnos actually is kind of good against them.
Interesting.
Not because he himself is good, it's because he makes the Bone Splitters fast.
Yeah.
Just like charge in. They can pop the Waaagh for like everything he's engaged, everything has a 4-up ward. Nighthaunt can't really hurt the Waaagh Prophet, and the Waaagh Prophet can keep playing that shooting game with them.
And if you have a bunch of Stabbas, right, like you can't just mortal wound all of them with your blood guy or your blade guy's charge, right? You can only pick one unit.
You gotta pick one unit. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of fun.
Well, yeah. So Nighthaunt still definitely feels like an A tier army. I think.
Oh yeah,
I'm okay leaving it there.
near the top of A tier for sure.
Yeah. How are we feeling about our own dudes? Stormcast. How are we doing in this season?
I think we're doing okay. I think we're
doing
bottom
okay.
of A. I think we're still A.
Bottom
honestly.
of A. I think bottom of
Because when
bottom
built
of A-
properly,
Yeah.
What's
Bottom of
stopping us
A,
from
and
being
like
higher?
we're slipping. We're like the lack of mobility is like starting to be
it's
felt,
starting. Yeah,
and and the points of some of the heroes now that more and more books are out is starting to be felt. I think
I mean,
with like
you know
3 or
what-
4 books, unless we get some like points adjustments, we could slip into B. But right now, I think we're A.
what's ironic is I think that the new books coming out are actually kind of keeping us in A, because a lot of books are kind of losing some things that were better against us, and they're
Yeah.
getting new tools, which are still
Yeah.
good. But honestly, like we're still hanging in there just because we still have tech against a lot of things. And we're still able to
Yeah.
build efficient lists. And obviously, if you look at the general Stormcast win rate, I think we're at like 46, something super low.
46.
But-
I
Yeah,
don't know.
we're like
better
45%.
nerf
I mean,
Stormdrakes.
if we say like 4 or 5% counting for new players, you can say we're roughly a 50% win rate army,
Yeah.
49 to 50%,
We've always
which is
been a little
fine.
bit skewed. Yeah.
Yeah, which is fine. But I could see that dropping as new books come out, and then our
Mhm.
sort of lack of tricks starts to be felt more because
Yeah.
the more I've said this before, it's like the more and more tricks come out, the less oppressive the old Draconic Onslaught gets necessarily.
Well, that's
But-
another interesting thing is that armies have less tricks in 3rd edition. Every army has less tricks in 3rd edition. They have different
But
tricks.
they're more
Like
defining tricks.
Sylvaneth has a really
Yeah,
interesting
yeah.
trick. Ideneth have an interesting trick. Lumineth have an interesting trick, but there's less of it overall. There's less, more
Which I
standard
like.
play.
You know, make people play the core game more and then not just tricks the game, which is fine. I think it's like we said at the very start of our review when we did this like a year ago, when we were doing the Battletome review. It's what it says on the can. So eventually, as more books come out, this army will live and die on what they do with its.
Yeah.
If they
I
said,
think-
"Oh, hey, the Stormcast are slipping. Let's give them a little bit of a points boost. We're back up. We're back up on A or low A." If
easily
they
on a
don't do
points
that, we can
boost.
easily slip into B.
On
Point-
a points boost though, we can really like rock it.
Yeah.
Point changes for us wouldn't change the core of any of our archetype lists. It would just like give us a couple more units. Like here's another squad of Aetherwings because you shaved off 60 points, or
But our units on average are so good.
they are, but like
That's the
it's
thing.
not like we're gonna suddenly have 200 points to spare to bring another unit of Fulminators.
Oh, we could. We
No.
could.
You think so?
No,
I don't think
okay,
it'd be
like-
that drastic.
If you make dragons reasonably priced.
If you drop dragons by 40, if you drop all the heroes down by 20, that's 100 points.
Yeah, so like a squad of Liberators or something, right? That's what it probably
Yeah,
realistically is gonna have.
which is fine. Like even
I mean, that matters.
like sometimes that
Yeah.
makes all the difference. Like
Yeah,
for
I
instance,
agree.
in my list right now, I'm really feeling the lack of like the durable anvil.
Mhm.
Having an extra anvil piece would really feel more solidified.
Mm-hmm.
That kind
Yeah, or just like having another dude that can go take an objective, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, that stuff's useful. That's been the biggest shift from 2nd to 3rd has been
Honestly,
less stuff on the table.
that's why Call for Aid is so good for us.
Yeah,
Call for Aid has
is
been
good.
very surprisingly good because we sometimes just need that extra unit.
Yep, it's
Like
worth
to
a
the
command
point where I'm
point,
like, do I really want Thunderbolt Volley?
maybe not. Maybe Call for Aid becomes the default soon.
Anyways, enough Stormcast.
Daughters of Cain. Where do we think Daughters? I was torn on Daughters
Hey.
because they
No,
seem
very solid.
like they're going.
They're
up
right
to
up there
S.
with Night Haunt. Very solid.
I think they're. I find the Daughters of Cain incarnate list so degenerate, and the fact that that's propping up their win rate is not a
Oh.
good sign.
We didn't cover that one. Oh, darn.
Yeah, it's Marathi. Marathi will stop that faction from ever really dropping below A. It will always be at least a 3-2 army, 4-1 army, almost all the time, and then maybe with some luck 5-up.
That army is the definition of bad internal balance.
Yeah, I hope they make. Well, we'll talk about.
Or I
the
guess
Battlescroll.
Marathi is.
So no, I don't. I
Marathi
don't.
is.
So, okay, I don't disagree, but I will tell you this: Battle Regiment is hurting that army's. This is one of those cases where I think Battle Regiment should.
Yeah.
Because that Witch Elf army needs like a host of 5 heroes, which means it can never be Battle Regiment to have its full potential.
Yep.
But that Witch Elf army can work if people nerf Battle Regiment or remove it entirely. Because what happens is, if you take a multi-Witch Elf army against like any other army that has a Battle Regiment, they'll simply give you the first turn, you'll waste your turn moving up the... They'll hit something, they'll hit your other next something on a double, and you're dead. You're just gone. But you remove Battle Regiment from the game, and I think that list can actually shine.
I agree. I remember how many times we were list building. I think we spent like a week straight list building for daughters, and every time we were like, God, this army just needs a battle regiment. Like you can't play
Yeah.
without it because everything you try to do just needs it. You need as few drops as possible.
And I wonder how, like, that's something that's very, like, obviously apparent. I wonder how many builds. I think the build diversity in general goes up if battle regiment goes up.
Definitely. Same, and we're going to talk about this soon with the Battlescroll, but I think the same can be said with Arcane Tome and Master of Magic. Maybe not for Stormcast, but for every other army.
Literally every other faction. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Fire Slayers, are they still AA? I haven't really seen much of them lately.
No,
I've seen
unfortunately
them win tournaments. I think they're top of B, to be honest. I think they're still a really good army, and a lot of people are just kind of going for.
I think Bounty Hunters is hurting them.
But Bounty Hunters, yeah.
Not being able to double reinforce your Grimwrath or your Hearthguard Berserkers really sucks for them because the risk of taking Bounty Hunters damage is too high, so people don't take the battle line, which means they're not double
and so people
reinforced.
people switch to Magma Draughts to avoid that, but Magma Draughts are like super vulnerable to magic and just mortal wounds in general. Ranged mortal wounds.
Yeah.
Yeah, not magic so much because they get the spell ignore from the banner and then a 5-up ward on top of that. But
range will kill them.
They're not fast enough to rely. Like 14-inch move seems really fast, especially with the rune and whatnot. But it's like they just get screened out because the first turn their breath doesn't kill screens and then they just die. So yeah,
I think between them and Soulblight, they're like the ones waiting for this season to be over.
Okay, well let's hold off on putting Fire Slayers into B yet because B would put them on the same tier as we put Big Waaagh and Ideneth and Sons down there, so maybe we'll. I'm feeling you guys that Fire Slayers don't feel like the current place they're at.
I think Fire Slayers were on that level. I still think Ironjawz.
I don't know if Fire Slayers are 4+ wins, man. I think they're B. I think they'll go B2 pretty easy.
They're B.
If they're not, so A tier doesn't mean. Like B tier doesn't mean you can't do 4 wins. It just means like you're not consistently doing 4
that's
wins.
What I'm saying.
A good players obviously will take it to a 5-0, 4-1 easy. I'm saying when we talk about how the army in general is doing, I think B feels.
Yeah. I've seen at least 2 5-0s from Fire Slayers. They're doing okay. It's just not. This season is definitely holding them down.
Okay. Soulblight, I think, still feels A-ish. We've seen a lot of good results.
They just have enough tools to get the job done.
They're just playing Night Haunt. That's what's happening.
They're rare, but the people who are still playing it are doing well. They've pivoted away from zombie spam and Battle Line Graveguard, and now they're bringing Black Knights, which are really good screens. They're killing veterans with their Blood Knights, and they've pivoted into buff stacking on the Blood Knights. So it's kind of starting to look a little mono-buildy. Like you don't really see Prince Vordry, you don't see Terrorgeists, Zombie Dragons.
More for this season.
It's starting to get a little mono-buildy, which I don't like. But they're still putting up results. So and without the
It's a season thing though, so it's okay.
Yeah. Should we just call this the Kronspine season?
Kronspine, honestly.
Honestly, man, like the biggest shakeup to the meta will be if they remove Battle Regiment and Kronspine. Like list building, every perception we have of what is good will go out the window. It's back to the drawing. It'll be so nice. It'll be so nice. Like I can't wait.
Yeah. Well, hold a pin in that. We're almost there.
Almost there.
Sylvaneth. A tier? Yes.
Definitely A.
Not S, not B.
No,
or A.
not S.
Yeah.
Solid A. Very solid A.
Caradron.
Oh, solid A, yeah.
Caradron Overload.
It is a high finesse army though. Like if you're looking to just play your beginner game of Warhammer where you move forward and hit things, no. It is about target priority. It is about knowing when to fight and what to.
When to not strike and fade is a key part of that army because it's like it should be obvious that you strike and fade every time. It's like no, sometimes you stay, and that's the hard part. You learning that is a big part of it.
Yeah, that separates the good Sylvaneth players from the bad ones for sure.
Caradron Overlords, Purple Sun.
I think they're A.
Does that bury them?
Dude,
I think they're low A. But I think they still have a lot of weakness. Like
they do. But they're consistently getting the four wins when people are playing them.
How much of that is the Kronspine? Because every freaking list has a Kronspine in it.
No, I've seen plenty of lists. Like,
really?
Dude, Jeremy just won Las Vegas team tournament off of KOs.
Okay. So let's not count team because that's a wholly different format with the non-repeating war scrolls.
You build to counter something specific.
They're still doing really good without Kronspine. I don't know. Kronspine definitely keeping them.
They feel like low A, high B to me.
Yeah.
I mean, their shooting is still good. The Admirals getting the holy hand grenade, it's pretty good.
That's really good.
Them having the Gale Force stave is pretty good because Etheric Navigators just like making the Kronspine a 6-inch move is amazing.
Good tech.
Or like any flyer really. Their problems are still magic. Seraphon still dominating. Tzeentch. They can't kill Marathi fast enough. Marathi will kill them. And
they do okay in a Night Haunt.
They're actually pretty good into that because of that holy hand grenade, like I talked about.
Other incarnates give them trouble.
Annihilators just ruined them, by the way.
Oh well, yeah, Annihilators do just ruin them.
Because it's like, oh, your entire garrison's getting hit now.
Yeah.
Congrats.
So to me, that sounds like they can get 4 wins. Okay, well, probably A minus. Maybe swap them in Fire Slayers. I see better results from Caradron than Fire Slayers. But let me ask, how bad is the Purple Sun nerf for Caradron?
Not too bad. They were playing Warp Lightning Vortex anyway.
Really?
All the purple. They were. Yeah, they're not using it for insta kills. It's the Rend because KO generally has -1 Rend across the board. Changing that to -2 is pretty good.
20 points though. Can they spare it?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Isn't Warp Lightning Vortex 100?
Yeah, but I'm saying like some of them were taking Purple Sun because it was 30 points cheaper. But now that it's all
that was just for trying.
Yeah, but if you're I mean, I think you can switch it. I don't think it's a huge issue.
You just lose consistent triumph. That's all.
Skaven. We did talk about a 5-0 Skaven list today, but is that enough to prop them out of B tier? Or do we think that still feels right?
I think they're too reliant on Tankle and Stormkeep.
Yeah, I mean, but that's not. I mean, stuff is in.
That's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing.
Yeah, but stuff is in the higher tiers off of certain units. That's not a disqualifier.
What I'm saying is, if we can find a way to turn off Tankle, little boat trick, and then just like kill everything else in that army, it's gonna be a bad.
Yeah, it is definitely a little weaker, even with the proper units, than some of the stuff in A tier.
There's a lot of good anti-magic
coming
too.
Once this season passes, I think they become A tier though.
Okay, so still keeping them in B for now.
Very high B.
Okay.
But I think once the season passes, they're a solid A tier because like the fact that you can just murder rats is just annoying for them. Very annoying for them.
Did we not have Lumineth Realm? No, we didn't because it wasn't ranked.
That's right. Yep. New book.
Sons of Behemoth. Well, let's talk old book. Up to today, before the book is released, where would we have
B
still?
They can go 3-2 easy, but hardly ever break into 4.
Gatekeeper army, hard checked by certain things. If you
Only
pass
the best players were taking it super high. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Big Waaagh still feels like a B.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they've got decent builds. I wasn't expecting it as much from them because they were really, really low, like the previous GHB, like the lowest. But people are really starting to experiment, and it's kind of cool.
Good.
There's a lot there.
Ironjawz still feel like a B. They feel like
Yeah.
not like strictly worse, but they definitely feel like I'm not as worried about Ironjawz as I am about Daughters of Cain or Stormcast or Night Haunt or any of these other armies.
Or Night Haunt. Yeah. They're not.
The problem is Ironjawz has real problems dealing with like Magic Dom and
And Ironjawz.
Yeah, they can't kill a Cron.
Well, Ironjawz actually can deal with. I don't know if Ironjawz has problems.
Really?
Yeah. I don't think it does. Like, sure, they're pretty elite, but like between High Tide, like, because you can go turn 2 High Tide against, and that's pretty good because Ironjawz likes to win off the double.
That's right.
I think you can kill Ironjawz. I think the problem is Kronspine and Magic Dom, and Seraphon unfortunately just kicks the shit out of him every time.
Yeah, Lumineth and Tzeentch are coming in with hard magic now too. It's gonna be. I'm okay.
Like I talked to Carl, he's like losing to Seraphon is the time-honored tradition of.
Blizzards like fish. What do you know?
Corn. Is Corn putting up the results we thought they would by putting them in B tier?
Yeah, solid B.
Okay.
I think so.
Solid B. Oh yeah. It could also be A. Like could also actually be low A. Like people who underestimate Corn with Scarbrand, they can have a bad time.
A with a Kronspine, like the Kronspine builds, but like
no, I don't think they run Kronspine.
Some of them
their blood type spending is insane now. They go for that.
Yeah, you just go for more MSU instead of Kronspine, more tithe.
That's fair. Either way, it's a solid B. It's a solid B.
Cities of Sigmar, any development with this army? Because I haven't seen much aside from that Hallowheart list we talked about.
Hallowheart.
Yeah.
How hard is it?
How
hard is it?
Even Tom Guan can't take it past a 4-1 though. So
if it's not,
I will say this. Tom's losses were also like his Stormdrake Guard pretty much the entire time because I would finish my games early. I would go look at his game. His Stormdrake Guard never died. His Harkonnen almost never. The only thing what happened was sometimes his Kronspine tried to eat a Horror Gas on 5 and it rolled a 3.
Ooh,
and that's
not a good choice. Why would you even care? No, that's gambling. You don't do that.
I mean, it's also like, but it's a good list because there was another Hallowheart list. This one was running Kronspine and Iron Drakes with the Soulscream Bridge. So it's a good army.
It's dueling dragons.
Not A tier, but still good.
Yeah.
Okay. Beasts of Chaos, not Dragon Ogre spam.
Yeah, B tier.
I think
They still have
I think
support.
A. I think still A.
Really?
So we're talking
Even if you don't
Bestigors, Zangors, just all
We're
this
talking
random...
about Bulgors. We're talking about okay. When we say Dragon Ogre spam, can we at least have one unit of Dragon Ogres?
Oh yeah, absolutely. You can have
one
sure.
squad,
Yeah.
Okay,
sure.
so let's say one unit of 6, one unit or one unit of 9. Then you have Bulgors, Bestigors, Zangor, and Lighten from the Tzeentch, who are now amazing.
If you have a unit of 9 Dragon Ogres, I'm going to call that Dragon Ogre spam.
Okay, so what about 6? What about 6?
I see a lot of 2x6.
I thought you were talking
yeah.
about like one squad of 3 when you said that. That's what I thought you were saying.
No. I mean, I don't count a reinforced squad of 6 Dragon Ogres as spam.
Yeah,
I mean, there's
I
lists that
would've
are running 18 Dragon Ogres. That I count.
Okay, sure. Okay, 6 is fine. I'd say once you get up to a
6 is
double
fine.
reinforced unit, it's maybe...
So yeah,
okay.
6 Dragon Ogres, Bulgors, Bestigors, what's that Mortal Wound monster for 95 points?
Oh.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
Talking about the Cockatrice?
The Cockatrice.
Yeah, Cockatrice. Yeah. The Cockatrice. Then you have Zangor and Lighten, because you can just like bring a block of 6. They move 20 with the Brayhurt thing, and then they just like hit you for a ton of damage.
Now, does that
you
change
can have Bellicor
significantly because of the Tzeentch book? Or is it still pretty much the same?
What are you talking about?
Because Tzeentch updated the Zangor War Scrolls.
Yeah, they updated
it.
Yeah,
slightly better. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so they're good. You have Dragon Ogre Shaggoth, who's good, who's generating just like the primordial call points for summoning from the corners for threatening objectives. You can have Bellicor in the army to really ramp up the control along with your massive bodies. It's a solid A, I think. Just because they're too cheap and their Ren benefits are too good. Just off of that. If they raise the points, it could drop down to a B+, but
What
if
you had 0 Dragon Ogres in that list? Would you still call it A?
I would call it a high B.
Okay. I'm gonna keep it in B for now. Then
Yeah,
we'll see what the Battlescroll brings. Because Dragon Ogres look to be on the chopping block.
Yeah.
We don't know anything.
Ironjawz, dude. I think Ironjawz is an A tier. They're still gatekeeping really good.
Ironjawz might actually drop down a tier now.
I was thinking C, man. Yeah, I was ready to flush them down to C just because they're so focused on what they do, and it feels like when they win, it's because they got specific matchups or people played wrong against it.
Yeah,
but that's gonna happen. I don't know if that's enough to justify putting it down a tier.
I don't know. It's like how I feel about INET. Like we talked about how scripted INET can be because they're essentially working off their tides. Ironjawz is even more scripted. Like all they want to do is get in your face and bash. And if you can somehow take it and riposte, then they're dead.
Yeah, and the like the builds that aren't pig spam aren't good, frankly.
Oh well, yeah, the pigs for sure are carrying that army, but that army
also their internal balance is
like
awful.
Oh yeah,
their only reliable build is pig.
Yeah, so pig spam ain't good enough. I don't think pig spam is A tier. I don't think I could call it that.
I mean, I don't think they're C tier though. I'd be fine with B tier, but I don't see them as C tier.
We'll split the difference then. Mergonk's saying C, Dan's saying A. Let's keep them in B for now then. Just to reflect how like mono track they are. Like this is what they're doing. Every time you play Ironjawz, they're gonna do this thing, and you can counter it if you watch our video on how to counter Ironjawz.
Like but simplicity. Like there's something to be said for that. You know, like when your game plan is so clear because it's so strong. I don't know.
We'll see, man. I think
it works for them a lot. I see Ironjawz consistently in the top half of things rather than in the bottom half.
The more castle type lists they add to the game, the worse Ironjawz keep getting. So like Lumineth and Tzeentch are going to come in and just body Ironjawz. They're not going to be able to punch through that. Stormcast already do a really, really good job of this. Seraphon do a phenomenal job at this. Shooting castle lists are the hard counter to Ironjawz. And when your counter is just not just Stoneguard, but Wardens, man. Ethereal Wardens with a 5-up ward.
Dude, Lumineth with a total eclipse and -1 to hit Wardens.
Yep.
Well, absolutely, because it's like, what do you spend your command point on? Do you spend it on Mighty Destroyers? Do you want to spend it on all-out attack?
Well, if you're not spending on Mighty Destroyers, you don't get to spend it on all-out attack.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. So
like, you don't get all-out
attack.
Now
they're -1 to hit, so they're hitting on 4s.
Yep.
You know, it's
into
just
Ethereal 5-up ward, 30 block of Wardens. It's not even the Stoneguard. Stoneguard are fine. Like I don't think there's anything wrong with the Stoneguard, but because the pigs can punch through the Stoneguard. But like yeah, Ethereal Wardens, that's the problem. They're not going to be able to get through that. Okay, Ironjawz B. Slaanesh still feels like C.
Yeah, I mean they're literally just crutching on the Kronspine.
I mean, last I saw, they were just spamming because they can now like cockatrices in Blitzbarb Archers.
Blitzbarbs,
so.
yeah, and Kronspine. That's
Mm-hmm.
there's not much actually going on in the army.
Okay, Legion of the First Prince. Does this take a big hit because the Kairos changes?
No,
Yes.
I think it actually gets better.
Oh, split
Does it?
opinions. Okay.
Yeah.
Daniel, lay out your argument.
Yeah, Carl just played his new Legion list last weekend. He just takes out Bellicor, so he runs like the Kronspine with the 3 other heroes.
Oh, Kronspine. Oh, great. Okay.
Oh,
well, I mean, yeah, Kronspine, sure, but the Tzeentch, Kairos was actually performing better. Just because he has access to all the lore now, and he can do more things.
But that specific style is definitely dead. Is it still leaning on the KDP as you called it?
He doesn't run the KDP.
Okay, that's interesting then, because that army is really diverse.
Carl's like never run the KDP.
That allegiance is.
I mean,
super
that's
diverse.
getting nerfed too. I think when the new Horn Demon Prince comes out, that list is going to lose a lot.
It was leaked, right?
Well, no, but he's always played it without the KDP, and it's always been strong. I think people crutched on the KDP with Legion.
Yeah, it won games straight up.
I mean, yeah. But playing without it, it's still a good list.
Even if you played it as a pulse, as it should be, it's still one game. It's a really strong effect.
No, we'll get to it. I don't think they drop. I also don't know if they're B tier, because it does take a lot of really good play to make Legion good.
Legion probably won't move much until the new Slaves book comes out, because there's too much change, and it won't have time to settle.
Bonereapers.
So, in the first Realm report, I was stressing to you guys that Bonereapers are better than what you're saying. Was I right?
Not necessarily.
I mean, it takes Bill Souza on a very interesting list.
I think people are going to see that, and they're going to drop Mortek, and they're going to start doing other stuff besides Mortek, because that's been the crutch for years, ever since they came out. Once people started experimenting without Mortek, all right, we'll keep them C for now. But I'm telling you, watch out for Bonereapers.
They have potential. My only issue is they just don't get to play 3 points. They're still playing 2.
Yeah. Oh man, I'm really looking forward to their book. Seraphon and Bonereapers are going to be the most interesting 3rd edition books.
Yep.
And Ogres. I really want to. I'm thinking about getting Ogres next as my next army. Ogre Maw Tribes. Still C.
Chilling at C.
Do people play Ogres anymore? Is that an army people use?
It happens. Yeah. There was a 4-1 in one of the tournaments we covered.
Okay.
But it wasn't in the list. But no, they actually show up in the 4-1 every once in a while. I think that they're fine at C.
Okay. Is it still Kragnos carrying them, or is it Beastclaw, or it's definitely
Beastclaw,
not the foot ogres.
Beastclaw and/or yeah.
It's no
Beastclaw
way
and/or.
No way is it going to be those chunky 5-up save guys that are taking double damage from bounty hunters. Flesh Eater Courts, still C or D? I'm thinking drop them down a tier, because they're just so vulnerable to everything. Everything hits them hard and kills them before they have a chance to do anything.
And the Kronspine is eating terror, guys.
Maybe they should just start using
one.
They do use one. The last 5-0 they got was from Carl from Overseas in a War, and he ran a Kronspine with him. What do you know? They're able to 5-0 with a Kronspine.
They're like Ironjawz, but worse.
Yeah, I still think they stay in C tier though. I don't think they're
okay. But I ask this because I've been convinced that Slaves to Darkness is better than what we rank them. And just the juxtaposition of Flesh Eaters in C and Slaves in D seems wrong to me. It feels like that should be flipped, right?
No, I think Slaves is C tier.
Sure, I'm going to bump Slaves up to C tier, I think. But Flesh Eater in the same tier even as Legion or Bonereapers just still doesn't feel right. I feel like that army's worse. But what do you guys think? You guys might outvote me.
I think Flesh Eaters, might be D. I think
if we're gonna put something in D,
having GVs really hurt, because their defense is some of the worst.
I mean, that's fair.
And now the only strength they had, which was their Terrorgeist, is completely outshadowed by the Kronspine.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah, I think they're D just because of the Kronspine.
When you replace the model that's been carrying your faction with a neutral monster, that's a bad sign.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a bad. Yep.
Yeah.
Cruel Boys, Grin and Blades, not as good as we thought, huh?
No, I think they dropped down to D. They're not doing so great.
Yeah.
There's some like Pragnos lists that are like will do okay in the hands of a really good player.
I mean,
but...
according to GW, both these Bone Splitters and Cruel Boys are just getting huge bumps because of that. So we know they're bad. Even
Yeah.
GW knows they're bad.
If you're getting
I
buffed,
think they're
that
D
means you're
tier
bad.
for now.
All right. And Bone Splitters 2 down to D.
Yeah.
All right.
They're not doing as great. I mean,
They have some very
list...
wild builds, spamming Boreboy Maniacs, 2 Vorgar Prophets, and Kragnos. But like ultimately, it's like something that catches you out of left field. But you can prep.
It seems
I think Horghast absolutely ruins them.
It's something like if you'd lose to that, you'd also lose to Flesh Eaters. But if you're prepped against both, you'll do fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Gits.
Comment all the Bone Splitters.
Gits and Flesh Eaters hang out together.
Gets ruined by bounty hunters. There was a good Gits list this weekend actually. It went like 3-2 or 4-1. No grots. It was just a bunch of it was Boing grots. It was a bunch of like those big cavalry dudes and squig hoppers and Boing grots. And it was doing pretty well.
I've known a lot of excellent players who are Gits players, and it saddens me because man, that army really deserves better. Such a cool concept, and it doesn't get enough.
It's a fun army. Just a fun. Cool. Out of all the destruction armies, it's probably the most fun looking army, and it's probably the shittiest.
Are Gits at the same level as Cruel Boys and Bone Splitters though, or are they just a tier?
No,
worse?
they're worse.
So Gits are the F tier army.
Yeah.
Ugh, that sucks. I don't disagree, but I don't like it.
Yeah, Slaves to Darkness is also in a really shit place because of the same problems. Your Vanguard and Archaon are the 2 elite to the point where they can't take objectives. Yeah. The Galatian veterans have no defense.
Yep, it's rough. It's just rough. Okay, so I guess the books are pretty much here, right? We've seen the Lumineth books. They're everywhere on the internet. Tzeentch is out. What are our super first impressions? We don't have to rank them strictly, like we won't include them because they don't have any tournament results. But what do you guys think of the new Tzeentch and the new Lumineth?
They both feel kind of B tier.
Somewhere
really? Tzeentch, really? Tzeentch with their new summoning? Really?
I don't know.
Have you seen how crazy their summoning is now?
No, I haven't.
Is it crazy?
You will summon 2 to 3 Lord of Changes easily.
In 5 rounds?
Like not each turn, but like over the course of a game.
Okay, that's pretty good. Summoning a Lord of Change is great.
The Arcane, Tzeentch is a pretty good book. Lumineth, I feel like, as most elves are, a very skill-intensive faction. So I'll call them low A, high B, but in the hands of a good player, like good A.
I just think on average, they feel like they're going to be a little lower than they have been. And if I were to rank them right now, I'd say they're B tier.
Lumineth?
Who, Lumineth?
Yeah.
Nah, I don't think so. I think what they lost was all of their NPE stuff, which is nice. What they gained, though, especially in terms of what they gained on Sonari Wizards and Shining Company, is good enough to sustain them. They will always play the same way, though. That's their main.
Yeah, they definitely kept. Yeah.
Shooting Castle every time. It's just what flavor of Shooting Castle do you want?
Yep.
And every time it's going to be Helon because the other sub-factions aren't good enough.
Honestly, like maybe that's why they kept Total Eclipse in, because Total Eclipse felt like bullshit when the army felt like bullshit. But the army doesn't feel all right. So Total Eclipse is like, okay, they need it because otherwise they'll just die.
I never thought I'd say it, but yeah, that actually does sound pretty correct.
I just wish they had made the army better instead of making Total Eclipse bullshit. Because Total Eclipse is like the kind of bullshit where like I don't get to play my army, so I feel mad about it. Versus you doing your army and doing something good. You know what I mean? I just wish they hadn't kept Total Eclipse in and just like done something else. But...
Total Eclipse has an interesting niche in the meta of punishing armies that rely on commands but don't generate a lot, like Daughters of Cain, Ironjawz, and then it's weaker against armies like Stormcast, which have Bastion and Imperator to just free command stuff. And if we have ways to get bonuses to saves, for example, without using command points. So
that's why I can't wait for OBR, because it's like we don't care about it.
Yeah.
So I'm okay with Total Eclipse in a vacuum. I'm glad Lambent Light is gone. I really didn't like Lambent Light, being able to re-roll your hits into mortal wounds. It's like, why are we playing a game where just hitting the person isn't good enough? I have to re-roll a successful hit. Like that's a sign that things are wrong,
Yeah.
I'm glad that's changing. They seem like, I'm glad that almost everything's good in Lumineth. That's my first impression. Aside from the banner blade, it seems like everything has a purpose. Even the big cow dudes are looking good. The normal cow, not so much.
Dawn Riders are looking good. I like them.
They're okay too, yeah. Like, you need some element of speed, and sometimes you don't want shooting speed, so you'll bring Dawn Riders.
And you want to maintain Shining Company. They can do that while charging. Not a lot of cavalry in the game.
They can, but don't they miss attacks? Because you have to do like 3 up front and then 2 in the back. And then the 2 in the back won't be in range.
No, just have them touching.
No, you need to touch 2 models in the unit, so the dudes on
They
the
need to
ends
touch.
won't,
Yeah.
won't work.
Oh, just do flower then. Yeah.
Or just a circle.
Yeah.
Like a
Yeah.
circle
Flower.
of knights just spinning into the enemy. That'd be great.
Wow.
Okay, so Lumineth somewhere A or B, maybe low A, high B, maybe mid A. We'll see. I think good players are going to make it work and get some 5-0s, and we're going to be excited. We are not going to hate talking about Lumineth. Just picture that.
Yeah.
We're going to be like, whoa, Lumineth, sick, let's talk about this. Instead of, ugh.
Yeah.
Like, I
Lumineth.
hated Lumineth for 2 years, but I don't hate them anymore, thankfully.
I
Tzeentch,
think they're doing a good job.
Tzeentch
Yeah.
A. I will completely take your word for it. I haven't looked at Tzeentch and haven't played a game with their new book yet.
Tzeentch, I will say, is at least a low A.
Okay.
I can't see that army being bad. I think Zangor are on crack. They're pretty good. Flamers, I think, with Gaunt Summoner against armies that like don't have a lot of range projection is going to be insane. Just like
What do you think
dropping
about-
Flamers from reserve.
What do you think
in your
about the
face.
big meme with the screamers and the mortal wounds in movement?
Yeah. Like Carl actually came up with a list where he just like drops screamers and like a bunch
Mhm.
of pink horrors in front of you, and then like
Just
our
move.
Arcanum faction is just like casting spells and summoning Lord of Changes. Tzeentch is going to be annoyingly good.
Okay.
But
Okay.
their main thing, which was reaching out and touching you with 6 mortal wounds and creating a chaos spawn in your midst, that's
So it's more Tzeentchy in the fact that they're going to mess with the battlefield, do unpredictable things, summon stuff, add like warp stuff, and that feels more flavorful. Does that sound right?
You
yeah.
can still burn
Now
Sigil
I don't know,
for
burning
free.
Sigil of Tzeentch might make some armies feel bad, but I checked the rules.
Some.
You can only still produce 1 spawn. You can't produce.
Yeah, it's
like,
only
6.
one. Yeah, it's only
Yeah.
one spawn.
Somebody
and
was
you can-
complaining about how it's going to produce like 4.
You can control where it's going to be as well as the player taking the mortals,
Mhm.
because
Yeah.
you can control where it's allocated. So like if you don't want it to be like the middle unit in front of your army that you don't want to be stopping something, you can take it on something on the side. So I like that it adds a little bit of skill. Like you can position and guarantee like the mortal is on a unit that you want to be stopped, for example.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
there's some interesting plays around that.
Okay. Ian in the chat says battle roos are undervalued. Pretty good shooting. Oh, dude,
Yes.
yeah.
No,
Battle
dude,
Root,
no.
undervalued.
Our Lumineth review will come out. Battle Brews, I think people will take 15 or 10 of them.
A double
Elon,
reinforced
man.
squad is going to be gross as like a finishing, like a shooting riposte. That's the phrase we've been using, and it seems
Yeah,
pretty
shooting
accurate.
repo-
32-inch
The-
flying move followed by 45 attacks on 2s and 3s with rend, ignore wards. Good finishing unit. And then when they unleash, they pop Aether Core, so they do on 3s and 3s. It seems good.
Yeah. PSA for all the peeps looking at Helon and going, wait, Helon? Why are they saying Helon? You have to have a unit within 6 inches to get the bonus attacks, but you don't have to hit that unit.
Yeah. Yeah, you shoot
Apparently,
anything.
people didn't know this.
Yeah.
I don't know why people didn't notice, but
I
yeah.
didn't notice, and I thought Helon was amazing.
Yeah,
'Cause, like, there's so
I
many
thought you
units that
knew
could take
too.
advantage of that. Even like
were so
Teclis
hyped
has a
on it,
shooting
now we know.
attack.
And you could just have like a corner of your one model
Yeah.
being within 6 of a unit, and just you get 3 attacks.
You can riposte with your sentinels, have something charge, like land on your wardens, and then walk into them with your sentinels, so
Yep.
you can bomb something else.
And I confirmed this earlier today. Avalanor doesn't have the Emetrica keyword, which means he can gain Helon, which means when he's in range within 6 inches, he gets 2 shots with his thing, and you can take the command train on the Stone Mage to make it 3 shots. He's a freaking Bastiladon. Like, he's a Bastiladon that does like 40 damage in melee on Ren 2. He's insane. He costs the same amount as Kronspine, so you're never going to use him. But,
Yeah, Luminet's looking really cool. I like the changes to the book. Dude, 3.0 has just been good.
great addition.
3.0 books.
Really great addition so far. I wish they were better with their FAQs, but can't have it all.
Well, don't get me started. Don't get me started. Holy crap.
Speaking of which, let's talk about the Battlescroll. Look at that segue. Look how good that segue was. Is it coming this month? It was supposed to be, 20 days ago, probably?
Later this month, TM.
Yeah. Did they confirm that, or was that the 40k one?
Well, that was the 40k one. That's true. Technically, the battle scroll has not been confirmed for
That's
later.
right.
Yeah, I don't want them to wait till after the KC Open. Like, I'm tired of seeing the Kronstein. I'm tired of seeing Battle Regiment. Where
Yeah.
Dude.
guys, just give us the Battle Scroll.
All right, so what do we expect to happen? First up, we talked about the Battle Regiment already. I kind of gave my thoughts on what I would like to see happen with the Battle Regiment is maybe don't necessarily nerf the Battle Regiment, but just make players roll off for round 1. I think that would kill the Battle Regiment because people would, getting the +1 to first deployment doesn't mean, it means almost anything. It doesn't mean almost anything.
Yeah.
So just get more value. I think that would do it. Bounty Hunters, it's too good, right? It's
too easy to
stifling the
activate.
game. I think that's clear at this point. People aren't using the big blocks.
I don't think you can nerf bounty hunters without just Night Hunt.
I agree with that. I totally agree with that.
Yes,
Like I think the
absolutely.
Crusaders -1 damage will have to be a targeted unit if you want to do.
I think the Crusader's aura effect would have to get smaller. Like if you're, or it needs an errata. I would prefer if it wasn't a -1 damage effect, but if it was something like, if the Crusader's within 3 inches, that unit has -1 damage. You know what I mean? Like if the Crusader himself is personally engaging you, you would lose it. Kind of like the Lord Executioner with his -1 wound effect. That might be a way to do it. But yeah, if Nighthawk can just keep the Crusader behind a bunch of ghosts and keep being -1 damage, and there's no bounty hunters, gosh, that's rough.
I've always been a fan of like make it so that the enemy unit has to be wholly within the range, because right now they just have to be touching.
Yeah.
That's another way, because I don't think getting him in combat, like, that's still too much of a nerf. Like I agree that
I think as a support hero I'm okay with like him extending the aura, but like
you can sit back,
just have holy within, do something, because otherwise Nighthawk's gonna be out of control.
Cannot be affected by spirit hosts while giving effect. That would be pretty funny.
Like they're already pretty tough. Can you imagine like Nighthawk taking blocks of 20 ghosts with the Crusader and the Discorporate and being like
not having a
5 expert conquerors? Like, ugh. Nighthawk would be insane with expert bounty.
And they could take those blocks so easily because of the dual rank fighting.
So let's also, sorry, before we go on, chat, if you guys have any questions, feel free to start dropping them in now, and we'll get to them as soon as we're done with our section, because we want to do a nice long Q&A with you guys, and really just whatever questions you guys got, any topic. So feel free to start dropping questions in chat. I'm okay with Nighthaunt getting nerfed somehow, specifically the Crusader's aura, if bounty hunters can also get nerfed, but let's say that happens. How would you like to see bounty hunters get nerfed?
Restriction on activation. Like, it's too easy to activate. You just put in 2 units and then you're done. I think you make it harder to activate. I think you do something like, I like Mergonk's suggestion earlier about making some things harder to activate but giving them good effects. Make it so you have to put a hero in there or something like that. Like something where you have to have all 3 units and a hero to activate the effect.
Or make it to where, you need to have you could do it to where a hero has to be there, and then like as long as the hero is alive and on the battlefield, you can choose 1 unit to have +1.
I think the +1 damage effect is too strong. I really like what it's done for our internal balance, but +1 damage is going to completely stop people from using veterans. So for the sake of seeing more diversity in the game, I think the +1 damage should be changed to like, maybe you get to pick an effect. Either you get +1 to wound, or you get like +1 to rend or something.
So I'm okay with that. My problem is if +1 damage is too strong, so is -1. I don't think either should exist.
Yes,
I agree.
If this is where they take out the +1 damage but not the -1 damage, they're doing it wrong.
Oh, I agree. Yeah, like I'm saying, assume the -1 damage effect is gone. How would you change bounty hunters?
That's make it like a +1 to
wound.
+1
to hit and wound.
+1. Okay.
Make it a Knights Excelsior thing. Yeah,
I like that. I would also limit it to 1 unit in the battalion gets it at a time. That way you don't have like 3 units multi-charging and doing all this nonsense.
It can be like the Knights Excelsior trade. You choose a unit at the start of combat, +1 to hit and wound against.
I'm okay with that.
Vindicators, yeah. Make things more like Stormcast stuff, and it turns really balanced.
Yeah, just make it really generic and simple, and the game is easier to balance. How about that?
Easy.
Okay, so that's what I'd like to see for bounty hunters. Do you guys think Nurgle needs any particular changes? Is it just the fly spam, or
flies are too efficient? It's just flies. Everything else is very nice in Nurgle. The Nurgle's very cool when you're not playing flies.
Let me ask you this: would fly spam be a problem if the pregame move didn't exist?
Not as much. I think it should go to D3 units.
Not as much, but yeah, that's definitely what's causing a lot of the problems.
Yeah,
inconsistency is really good to put into units like that.
I've talked with some Nurgle players, and they've made a good case that flies at their current point cost, even with all like the enhancements and everything you can set up with that list, the point cost is fine. The issue is the pregame move, getting them into the opponent's face turn 1. That playstyle is just too reliable and too easy. Like that's another problem. It's just the easiest way to play Nurgle, and it's so effective that it becomes super popular, and also it's very effective. So
that's what I'm saying. D3 units.
Maybe D3, easy. Maybe just one unit gets to do it.
No, D3 would still, like, the time they roll a 3, you would essentially be playing against the same degenerate list. Well, just don't do that. Just be like, pick 1 unit, it can move D6.
It makes it inconsistent, which is, I think...
Or change it to a passive effect, like plus 2-inch move on flies, or something like that.
Like turn 1?
Yeah, just get rid of the pregame move entirely.
Sure.
Maybe.
Yeah, for the first battle round. Oh, yeah, you can make it like Tempest Lords. Like first battle round, they have a +1 to their.
Yeah. It depends on how hard they want to nerf it, but I think the issue there is the pregame move. I don't think any of their damage is
It's
insane.
the speed. If we're meant to be slow, they're meant to be. Like I'm sorry, anything that adds more speed, even if it's on a randomizer, you can't give one unit of 4. Like if you're saying D3, even a unit of 4 moving in your face, running up a Lord of Afflictions behind them with an auto run is insanely buff.
Yeah, it's pretty tough.
Yep. Beasts of Chaos. How would you guys change Beasts of Chaos? We
Points.
Just points.
Dragon Ogres go to 170 at the very least.
That's points up, and honestly, I don't think they need that round 3 rend, because I don't think everything in that army needs to go to Galmaraz level round 3. Well, I think that's kind of dumb.
You don't think it's appropriate for Bestigors to cut through Liberator armor?
I mean, I don't think it's Bestigor. Yeah, I don't think Bestigor should have Galmaraz rend.
If they don't have the -2 rend round 3 onwards, then I wouldn't actually put Drogers as high as like Core Crunchers, for example. They could
okay, but here's the thing: like -2 is the gold standard in it. That entire army is going to be, like, if you run all the quality units, they're all going to be on -2. I think that's good enough. Fair. You don't need to be. Not everything in your army doesn't need to be Celestial Prime.
Yeah, maybe the issue is just the Hearthstone. If you knock the Hearthstone back, maybe the point costs are fine.
Well, 125 for 15 wounds is still really.
Yeah. I mean, I'd say like jack up the points a little, but remove that round 3 bonus.
Yeah.
Or you could make it so where that rend bonus isn't just board wide. They have to be within range of the herd.
Well, that was the way it was, right? It used to be a debuff on save rolls if you were near the Hearthstone. Yeah. I like that it's more usable now. I like that beasts are a real threat. I like that they're a good army, but they're just a bit too good.
Too efficient.
Speaking of which, Kronspine.
My favorite nerf
make it 600 points, or make it 600 points.
Yeah.
Boons remain on it, so you have to take the test every turn. You can't heal a Kronspine. Or C, if it goes wild for whatever reason, you get to control it too in your turn.
I don't know about that one. That kind of feels bad. I'm still a fan of. I think it goes to 500. So kind of like chilling a little bit. Honestly, like I was saying in the chat earlier today, 50 points would be a light tap, like an extremely light tap. Make it 500, and then when wild, I think it should move 2d6 instead of moving 12 still. Make it inconsistent. Make it so you can't get it away from your army, for example. Consistently, or get to the objectives.
Basically, the going wild needs to have more.
Being wild should be inconsistent. I think introducing the randomness there, because randomness isn't like inherently great in everything, because a lot of good games are won by bad RNG. But when you make it a downside that you know is going in, something so strong as the Incarnate, it's so consistent. You're able to run and charge from 12 inches. Like that's, you're never going to get caught up on your own units unless you mess up extremely, like you just completely F it up. Like that's just
I think 600 points is the easiest, simplest solution. A big problem.
I mean, if Karazide's going to be 600,
because it's it's so easy to change its points. You don't have to change its rules. You don't invalidate any books. The point change a big problem with the Kronspine is like I could take a 400 point monster that synergizes with my army, or I can take a Kronspine, which also synergizes with my army
every day. Even a 350, 340 point monster like Stormdray Guard, I'm like, why do I want to take Stormdray Guard?
Yeah, too many armies pick the Kronspine, and that's the problem. And I think 600 points solves that problem, because it's like you could fit it for 400, but can you fit it for that much? I don't think so. I don't think so. 500's too little. If that's the solution, 500's still too little, because of that just gives up.
Well, that's what I was saying. 500 with an inconsistency nerf, because going wild is not a downside. It's just not, and I don't think that's right.
It is the incarnate of Gur, so maybe going wild being an upside is a good thing. Like that's flavorful. You know, if it was the incarnate of fire, going wild.
The idea is if it goes wild, it's more of a threat to you also.
Yeah,
like right now they need to make it a threat for you as well, an actual threat. Because what happens is sometimes let's say because you can remember even if you charge something and it charges your own thing. You can choose where it goes and where the attacks.
Yeah.
So like if a KO player, for instance, gets an Ironclad, it's happened to me. His Kronspine went wild. It actually charged his own boat. He can focus all of the monsters, rampages, and attacks on like a single hero model that he doesn't care.
Yeah.
And the boat can just fly off next. Do its like. I don't think that should.
Yep. It's a problem. Hopefully they address it. I don't want to play 3 more months of this game until the next Battlescroll, hoping they fix it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Seraphon, how would you guys nerf Seraphon? I think the easiest answer is jack up hero
the heroes.
costs.
Yep.
I think the hero costs mainly, and then hero costs, and I think unit costs. I think anything that has -1 damage on it being insane. It's like it should be treated like having a ward on it. It should be more expensive.
Even Nighthaunt pay a pretty good premium because they know they're gonna have -1 damage.
Yeah, because all the Nighthaunts are paying insane prices for their ethereal and their thing. So I mean, I don't know. -1 damage seems a little too powerful, especially with the upgrades.
Yeah. I think mostly just heroes. I think the units are honestly pointed okay. I don't know.
The units, I mean, heroes probably need to go up by like 30.
Yeah.
We need to take, like, basically give them our hero points, right?
Yeah.
Like, we'll just, swap a little bit. We'll meet in the middle.
Delete
we'll
Seraphon, Ian. That's not... I mean, no, dude. I like Seraphon. You see how many I got in the cabinet, man? No, don't delete them. They gotta stick around. I like them.
That's a solution.
Yeah, hero cost got to go up. Alternatively, the -1 damage effect needs to go, but that would just make everybody pivot out of Coalesced and into probably Dracothian's Tail, which is even worse to play against. I'll be honest, it's really impressive.
I don't think -1 damage should just be unconditionally on their Saurus. If you just like literally had it on their monsters, like if people want to spam Carnosaurs with -1 damage, nobody cares.
Okay, how about this? If you're Koatl's Claw, you get -1 damage on Saurus. If you are Thunder Lizard, you get it
Thunder
on
Lizard, you get it on your monster. Right.
Interesting.
And Crosscourse.
Interesting,
sure.
But hero nerf still, man. Hero's way too efficient.
Yeah, they're too cheap. They've always been too cheap. Yep.
Yeah, I look at a Slann too, like a Toleron, and I'm like, oh, good lord.
Slann is okay. He's one of the more... Like,
265 is fair for the Slann.
Yeah, because even as an ally, he's actually a little pricey. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know.
Everything else,
he's one of the better ones.
I guess in the context of that army, it doesn't feel right. Because if he's generating CP, casting board white spells and board white unbinds, I mean, I look at him and I think of the imperative. Board white ability, free command point. It's like...
Kind of.
Yeah.
I don't know.
He's 265 for a 7 wound slow toady boy. Like,
265 but
is
like,
fine.
Realistically, you're always taking Saurus Guard because they're battle line. Stick him in the garrison and he's like -1 to hit, 3-up save.
Mm-hmm.
It's just -1 to hit. Like, it's not easy to get rid of him. It's
came
like one of
into
those
his
things where
house
it's like...
and you want to just kick him out? I don't think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Maybe the issue there is Saurus Guard are too cheap. Maybe Saurus Guard are too cheap in that case, right?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Probably not, but maybe. Next topic. I guess these can be wrapped up together. Arcane Tome, Master of Magic, Universal Enhancements. How are we feeling about them in general? They did that big MetaWatch article. They said their goal is that Universal Enhancements would be used in less than 10%. That is clearly not happening right now. It is 100% of Stormcast lists using one or both of these, or High Priest. 100% of Stormcast lists, right? Most armies are using one of these. Arcane Tome is just like adding 100, 150 points to your army, depending on your army. It's too good. And I hate saying that it's too good, because I really like it. I really like being able to customize my heroes. This is kind of leading into what I was saying before, where they could have cool battalions that are like, pick... the battalion could be, I don't know, here's a sub commander and 2 troop units, and then the hero gets the wizard keyword if they don't have it. That could be a cool battalion, and that would be something that you might take instead of battle regiment, for example. So that's one way they could go. More likely, they're just gonna nerf it like they did Amulet of Destiny. Just make it unusable almost.
Yep.
Like once per game, +1 to cast. Woo.
Yeah.
Boring. Or
something...
like, because even if the tome was just this gains the wizard keyword, it can cast Mystic Shield and Arcane Bolt. That's still worth taking for a lot of armies. Mystic Shield is a good spell.
I like that one because taking it for an extra cast, pretty strong. You see that often enough.
Mm-hmm. It's just too good. Turning a Hag Cauldron into something that can cast Mind Razor is too good.
Engine of the Gods.
Engine of the Gods into a Vassal, right? That's too good. There's too many interactions with the wizard keyword and spell lores and other effects, so it gets too much play. So how would you guys go?
Gotta go. Delete Seraphon. I agree now.
Delete Seraphon.
You delete Seraphon, you're just gonna start complaining about the next army.
I like I don't think you should have interaction with things that are already a wizard. Like he gets another book and he's suddenly like he knows another spell, I guess. I don't know. I mean that's very D&D, but
they might actually do that. They'll just say like Arcane Tome allows a wizard to know an additional spell.
I don't know.
That's still worth taking, honestly. That's good. That's not a bad
It's still worth taking, but it's not in this case where like everyone's casting an extra spell or everyone's not taking a dedicated wizard to do a wizard.
Yeah. Master of
So
Magic.
it solves both problems, but it's not that strong because you know an extra spell, but you can't necessarily cast it to your team.
Master of Magic, I think, should be changed to just be rerolling Unbind and Dispel and not rerolling casting, because we have the cogs to reroll casting. Master of Magic is really cool as a defensive tool. For example, if Master of Magic was like, this hero can Unbind and Dispel as if it were a wizard, in addition it can reroll Unbinding and Dispelling once per turn. I think that having strong anti-magic as a neutral option is a really good thing, but when it also rerolls casting, that's just too much. That's too much value.
As if it were a wizard, would be really strong with the Rune Lord, though.
Sure.
Because that's adding on extra effects.
You have to make him your general. There's a cost there.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, so Stormcast couldn't do it. Only cities could do it. That's my 2 cents about that. Morathi. What do you guys think about Morathi?
She's fine.
She's fine? Okay.
Fine.
I mean,
Dan?
She's the worst internal balance, like single unit.
It's a worse. It's a book problem, not a Morathi problem.
It's a book problem.
Morathi is much more easily dealt with than.
Here's what I want to see. If they're willing to gut Thunderbolt Volley because it's just not fun to play against and it messes up internal balance, I think we can do the same thing to Morathi. But I think we can actually do it better with that army than we did with Stormcast, because instead of just removing it on reinforced units, what if you just couldn't use it on shooting at all, and instead the bow snakes got +1 attack all the time?
No, I think it would still be kind of busted. I think the only thing you should... I think what you can do is like... It could be like a... I almost want to say like maybe shooting twice is too strong. Maybe it should just be like the Slaughter Queen, where it just fights twice. But that feels bad, because then why would you? Morathi's just a better Slaughter Queen. I want to have
not necessarily, because it would stack with the Slaughter Queen, because they're different commands technically. So you could have 2 different units fighting.
What I would ideally like is for double shooting to be gone for that book, because that book like relies too much on it. But what I would like is something like you can fight in the melee phase, in the hero phase. When you pick a unit, it fights in the hero phase. In addition, that unit for the rest of the turn counts as having all 5 blood rays.
Yeah, that's something I was thinking, was that if you get rid of Morathi's double tap, you still want to give her some offensive utility. I was thinking something like your whole army has +1 blood right, or +2 blood right at all time on your turn, right, to keep it consistent.
All blood right. So it's like until the end of the turn, basically like a souped-up hag brew. So not only can you fight in the hero phase, but for the rest of the turn, that unit that you picked is counted as being on blood right table 5 for the turn.
What if
it has the +1 to hit, +1 to wound, 5 of war.
What if she just had like super hag brew, where you could like do hag brew to 3 units in your army?
Worship through bloodshed? Yeah, I would like that.
There's so many cool ways to make Morathi more synergistic with the army than she currently is, because right now all Morathi does is double tap snakes and live, and sometimes cast Mind Razor.
She buffs the Melusai.
Yeah, but there's just ways to get other buffs. Like, I'm fine with her buffing melee snakes. Daughters of Cain is an army about psychotic witch cultists that are trying to stab you as fast as possible as they die.
But they're a shooting castle.
Why do they play as a shooting castle? Still, it's been years. It's ridiculous. So, yeah.
Honestly, if Morathi gave everyone, like, if anyone I feel like should have a pre-game move to get into melee, it should be Daughters of Cain. If Morathi, like, just picked 3 units with her command ability and gave them a hero phase move, like Blood Sisters or something, I'd be far happier with that.
The table, right?
I would be much happier with that, dude. If she could just move the snakes instead of shooting with them, I'd be much happier.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping to see in the Battlescroll. Anything else that I left off the list you guys want to mention?
I think that's it. I'm just praying for Wednesday.
Anything for Stormcast, maybe?
I
don't know. I'm hope is the first step on the road to disappointment. Not hope. But
Yeah,
if there's any change they could make to us, it would be somehow magically adjust our shit command traits and artifacts, and then maybe adjust the points on some of the things they nerfed, essentially, with Thunderbolt Volley and Draconic
Could
Arm.
you
Things they've
imagine
nerfed.
if the Battlescroll had 3 command traits and 3 artifacts for Stormcast? Can you just imagine how amazing that would be?
God.
Like-
Honestly, I will say this: even if they don't adjust us at all, even if they say, okay, maybe it's just small points, but even if they don't adjust it at all, even if they get rid of Battle Regiment and they get rid of the Incarnate, that's a buff too.
Yep, agree.
Yeah,
Agree.
Incarnate's just a problem that I don't.
Stormdrake
like
Guard just don't exist.
Yeah, Stormdrake Guard
You
will
have to
not...
build a very defensive.
Okay, so
Yeah.
they nerf Kronspine and then they have to nerf Stormdrakes again, right?
I think for every nerf Stormdrake Guard got, we go down 5 points. Just saying.
10. Should be 310.
Holy... Yes, we'll go down like 50 points. It's fine.
All right.
Uh,
Okay, cool. So that's what to expect in the Battlescroll. Hopefully this week, if you're watching this in the future. I hope I was right. All right, let's open it up.
A couple questions.
Yeah, let's open it up to Q&A from the chat. Starting here with
I
Ian.
actually have to
The
step
first
out,
one we had-
so I will
Okay,
Okay,
see
yeah.
you guys
see you,
later.
dude. Thanks for coming.
Really, guys. Really nice
See
for
you,
being
man.
in the stream.
Last one in, first one out.
Yeah. The first question we had was from Ian. It was a little
Yeah.
ways up. I don't know if you saw it.
Yeah. Current strongest Stormcast list, is it Anilana Grande? So, Murgonk has great results with Anilana Grande, but we're pretty sure Murgonk has some kind of luck siphon that steals 7s from the universe and infuses it into his dice, because he just crushes 7-inch rerollable charges somehow. What the best Stormcast list, I'd say, is it's totally subjective. It depends on your playstyle. It depends on what units you like using. It depends on how you like playing. I myself like playing shooting castle lists. I like playing safe, making as few gambles as possible. So for me, I think stuff like the Great Hunt and Silver Chariots. If you're in our Discord server, you'll know what that list is. It's like a bunch of chariots, Gardas, and crossbows behind them. I think that list is really strong. I think Hallow Strike is probably the strongest one. It's the most consistent, the one that relies on the least amount of dice rolls. It can play top of round, bottom of round. It can take double turns. It can dish out double turns. I think it's there's meta dependent. You got to make some swaps here and there, either Battle Mage or Knight and Cantor. All these little tiny decisions, but I think that idea is our strongest. Obviously, there's other people that disagree. There's some people that are playing 8 dragons and still doing very well with it. And I think there's just a lot of good stuff in Stormcast. We have a lot of viable, like 4-1, 5-0 archetypes for sure. What do you think, Dan? What do you think our strongest is right now?
I guess I'm a little more new breed. Not to call you old. Okay. But yeah, no, I definitely think Anilana is probably my favorite pick for like top table competitive play. I like my Dueling Dragons list because I see that in the Discord a lot. People seem to like that one a lot. I like that one too. I do think that Hallow Strike is slept on for sure.
It's boring to play, man. It's so
a little
boring.
more boring to play.
Yeah, it's not exciting.
but
It's not boring. It's just not exciting.
Yeah, there we go. I think that's a good way to put it. I think we have several really good archetypes. Gosh, yeah, we're not like S tier or anything, but we're doing really good. We definitely get a lot of like not very well built lists. It does take but I think we do have more lists that can be well built than a lot of other armies. I'm really happy with our like internal balance and like just our list diversity.
It could be better, right? Like our internal balance, we have a lot of bad units. There's some stuff that we think is it's mostly heroes, to be fair. Most of our
have
heroes.
A lot of units, to be fair.
We have tons of units, and the fact that like Vanguard Palladors suck, that hurts. But it's not the end of the world because we have like 6 other units we can use instead. So
we could be another army.
Yeah, you could be Fire Slayers.
Ironjawz. Oh.
Yeah, it's not a bad situation at all. So yeah, short answer, whatever you're most comfortable with, really, that's the strongest. And we got enough diversity that you'll find something you like.
Well optimized is the best Stormcast list.
Yeah, for sure. And
optimized. There's a lot of them.
Stormcast is an army that lives and dies by its efficiency. Like if you take really good trades, you're going to do really well. And that's why Liberators are S tier. Can't stress this enough. They are the best trading unit in our book. They're so good.
Yeah.
Because the first time they die, they don't even die. They just come back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the next one?
From
I
Andrew
think it
Payne.
was how to collect, which we had a video on, but yeah, any
Yeah, we can
input
talk
is a
about
good
that.
list to learn the game.
That's a tough one. Age of
is.
Sigmar is a really hard game, and our channel really focuses on people who understand how to play the game. So it's
We're
not
a
the
little
best.
bit more.
We're a little more
Yeah.
advanced, right? Like it's not like, oh, I've never played Age of Sigmar before. Let's watch the Stormkeep. They'll teach me how to play. That's not what we do
have
here.
some videos.
We have basic concepts, and I like doing that stuff, and I want to keep doing that stuff. But
Yeah.
getting into the game is honestly, it's just about playing it. Find a local store, find people who play it, and put models you like on the table and roll dice. Like read their war scrolls. Don't play with any books. Like try to make it as simple as possible. Strip the rules down as much as possible. No terrain rules. Like have terrain on there because it looks cool.
No pitch battle stuff.
No pitch battles. Just pick models you like. Put them on the table. Don't worry necessarily about points. If you're off by like one person has 50 more points, it doesn't matter. Just pick stuff you like, read the rules, the core rules, and roll with it. Dominion's a good way to start because it has like a good mix of the Cruel Boys have shooting, so Stormcast can learn to play with that. It's got deep striking stuff for Scions of the Storm, which is maybe a little bit more advanced, but not too complex, I hope.
Yeah. He's got, let's see, trying to gauge next purchases, grab a start collecting / Dominion. Oh, so I'm assuming you got Dominion. Chariot, Bastion. The start collecting is actually pretty good to get. It's not terrible.
Yeah,
You do miss out on
Prosecutors.
the Paladins a little bit.
Hammer Prosecutors are cool. Liberators are good. Vandus
Relictor is good.
isn't so good, but Relictor's excellent. Best hero in the book, easily.
Vandus, you can get another Vandus for really cheap, and boom, you got Fulminators.
Yeah, there you go.
That's how I did it. Yeah, Bastion. A Bastion castle is actually a pretty good Stormcast list to start learning on, I think, actually.
Yeah, with
Chariot.
With Lumineth coming back into play, the Bastion Castle might become an archetype again for us because teleporting sentinels are an issue, and I guess we don't have to volley that way anymore.
No, we don't have to. But I would say I would grab some shooting, like some Judicators, some Raptors, of course, something to help mixed arms your force, because right now your force isn't going to be very mixed arms, and we excel at mixed arms. That's what we do. We want shooting and melee.
A good list, if I had to point you towards any list to learn how to play Stormcast in particular, I'm going to be biased. I'm going to say something simple and easy to play is Hallow Strike, because what Hallow Strike does more or less doesn't depend on what your opponent is doing. And the hardest part of Age of Sigmar is the knowledge gap. There's so much to learn about what every model does and how they interact with each other and how players are typically using them. And then like you just have this, you're trying to do your own thing while your opponent is trying to do their own thing, and it's overwhelming. But if you can play a list that just sits back, puts stuff in the way, has good durability and super long range shooting, and you can just do your own thing, and you can learn very easily that way. You can learn at your own pace. So I would recommend like long strikes, liberators, some kind of melee unit. Maybe some chariots are a good pick. They're fast. They're kind of punchy. Fulminators are a good pick. So like pick some shooting. Long strikes are very easy. I suggest using them, and then put some stuff in the way and start learning. Start playing games. That's the best way to learn is to play.
Catboat question?
I'm dying to try Catboat. This is from Christian. Do you think they'd still be fine without the Purple Sun? How do you feel about a Slan in the list? I haven't done a serious Catboat yet, and I want to, because I feel like Dracolines are underrated. The Lauchon Dracoline combo is really, really, really good. It's way better than I thought it was going to be, honestly, because not only does it give you a super long threat range, it lets you hit from angles that you would not be able to hit from with any other combination in our book. It's almost like having a Draconic Onslaught, but it's longer range than Draconic Onslaught. You do have to get the cast off, unfortunately, which is the problem. The Catboat list that I pinned, I think I can do better than that. But basically, I would swap out.
That one was more like just trying, like putting out the concept than like optimizing it.
I would swap out the Judicators, probably for more long strikes and some Aether Wings. And then you basically just play like a shooting castle list with tricks, with mobility tricks, in exchange for, like, you lose Gardas in that case, but you gain I would swap out the Lord Arcanum's Listral Dracoline as well. I don't think he's necessary at all. Maybe swap him for Gardas, and that way you keep the durability. A Slan in the list. No, I wouldn't do that, because You don't need command points in there. There's nothing that's using extra command points because if you're using Vanguard Raptors and Aether Wings, they already get +1 hit. You're going to use a command point on like Call for Aid to revive your Liberators. You're going to use a command point to all-out attack with your Dracolines, and you're going to use a command point to maybe Thunderbolt Volley, right? And Call for Aid and Volley are once per game, so not a consistent regular thing. You don't need more command points, and you're already going Warlord Battalion, so you get an extra command point anyway. The Slann command point generation isn't very useful. His Comet's Call is good, but the thing is, that's the kind of thing where you have to invest more into making it good. Doing D3 mortal wounds to everything to a few units every turn sounds really good, but if it takes 4 rounds to kill something with that, then you might as well have just brought some more long strikes that are going to kill something in 1 or 2 rounds instead. Because with Stormcast, you want to take things off the board as efficiently and quickly as possible so that they can't hit you back. We have pretty good defense, but not enough to survive like actual damage, right? We're not like Nighthaunt where we can have 30 buffed up ghosts with a 5-up board and 4-up ethereal. We can't really take hits as well. So we want to take stuff off and leverage our durability to try to survive. But yeah, so I wouldn't go with the Slann here. It takes too long to get value out of him, both in the command points and in his damage. His 3 spells would always be Comet's Call, Mystic Shield, and whatever endless spell you brought. And I think you could do better for 265 points.
Do you want to expound on that a little bit, Paul, with like talking about how our army actually doesn't take hits very well despite being on a 3-up save?
I think we do have some units that are like we're definitely above average in durability. That can't be ignored. But it's like the game is so lethal that everything we have still dies. We can
There's a lot of rend, a lot of minus to negatives to save.
Mortal wounds especially. Gardas is a really good tool for increasing our effective health to the point where they won't be able to kill us in 1 turn, but we don't really have a lot of ways to revive models. Like we don't have 4-up rallies like some armies. We don't have significant healing in our list. Stormcast are about taking good fights when they need to be taken, trading up constantly, and just being as efficient as possible. And that's why when Stormcasts win, it feels like there's nothing your opponent could have done because you were just blowing them away. Every single move you made was exactly the right move you needed to make. And that's usually because they just left themselves in a position where you could take advantage of that. Or you just got hot with the dice. Sometimes you just roll d6 breaths, right? Like, we don't have a lot of tricks, but one of our tricks is getting lucky with Dragon
Sometimes
Breath.
you shoot a Crusader off the board turn 1 with your long strikes.
I'd say we have... It happens. Sometimes I would say we do have some really durable units. Like if you want to invest in durability, you could bring like a block of 4 dragons, give them Mystic Shield out of unbinding range with like a Battle Mage to get a +1, give them Castellan for another +1, and then you all-out defense. All-out defense, of course, could be roared, so it's not totally reliable, but +3 to save Drakes are tough. Not immortal, but that's about as tough as our army gets because they also have a 4+, and Gardas for a 5-up ward, and because they have a 4+ spell ignore. So that's about as tough as it gets. So we are, I mean, that's not anything compared to Nighthaunt durability or Nurgle save stacking with a 5-up board on top of it, just because they have so many wounds, so many more wounds, right? So, per point.
Efficiently, anyway. Like, Grigar have a lot of wounds, but you're paying quite a premium on those wounds.
We have, what's a good way to put this? We have high impact defense, but not efficient defense. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's kind of where I was going. And we also, that combined with our generally low wound count. Because a lot of defenses are just multiplying wounds, kind of like our Mortal Wounds video. Your defenses are really just multiplying the wounds that are there, and we don't have very much there in the first place.
Yeah, going from, like, Chariots are a really good example of this. Like, Chariots and Gardas are an amazing combo that I totally slept on for, like, 8 months of playing the book. But after playing it, Chariots and Gardas are really, really good. Because Chariots are 12 wounds for 165 points, and when you give that a 5-up save, that's effectively 18 wounds, which is like having 2 Drakes, which are 340 points. But instead of spending 340 for that, you're spending 165. So what happens when you bring 4 Chariots? Well, that's a lot of wounds your opponent has to cut through. 3-up save as well, which you can also buff with Mystic Shield and All-Out Defense and Castellan Lantern, but I probably wouldn't bring Castellan there. But Chariots, I'd say, are like the only example of an efficient defense unit that we have. Everything else we have is high-impact defense, but not very efficient.
Even Protectors aren't that efficient. Being a 2-up save base, you would think, or especially Shield Annihilators are actually the perfect example.
Yep, I was gonna say that Protectors are fine. The problem with them is, of course, they don't have a delivery mechanism, especially once they eventually nerf the battle mage. I don't know what we're going to do with that. That's going to be a rough day.
Yeah. Man. Give us back translocate move on 3 wound or less units models. I mean,
yes, I'm okay with that. If it's paladins and redeemers moving after translocating, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
But I don't.
Oh
think
no, they
anybody
moved
else will
4
be.
inches towards you after 9 inches. They're 5 inches away, and you redeploy for another 6 inches. Oh no.
It would be good. I think it would be good.
Yeah. Would be fine. I think Christian was asking, be fine without Purple Sun with the cat boat. I think that one was one we didn't answer.
Yeah, probably. I think I threw the Purple Sun in there just because I was excited about it. Now, obviously, it's illegal to run a Purple Sun in that list. It costs too many points. I haven't gotten around to updating it, but I think you could just swap out the Purple Sun and run like some Aether Wings, upgrade Liberators into Vanquishers, and put them inside the Bounty Hunters. That list needs refinement. It hasn't gone through a gauntlet of playtesting yet. Yeah. It looks super fun though. I want an excuse to play Evocators, even if they're overpriced. I still want to use them. Maybe that's what I'll do next weekend.
All right. Well, looks like we're caught up. Any last minute questions? I know there's like a 5-second delay.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a delay here. We'll give it a bit of time. What's your next tournament that you're going to, Dan?
I'm going next weekend, the 22nd, local one that Carl was throwing.
Oh, cool.
So it'll be just an RTT, kind of cleanse the palate and get a redo. Be a good time, but
what are you bringing?
I think I'm gonna go Dueling Dragons again. I think I just want to kind of turn the brain off a little bit and do some dragon stuff. We'll see if the Incarnate is even nerfed by then. If it is, then I'm gonna have to cook something new. I want the Incarnate to be nerfed so I can start playing with dragons. Like, I don't want to just run like the typical the old Gardas dragons that I did, like the 9 dragons list. But I want to do something a little more fun. Do
you think if they nerf the Kronspine and let's say in some magical realm they lower Drakes down to like 300 points, do you think people would go back to dragon spam?
Yeah. I think that there would be a little more dragon spam. It would probably be like 30% of our competitive lists. People would run it a lot more because the Kronspine's really putting a limiter on that, which honestly isn't a bad thing. I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. I loved running the full dragon list. It was a great time and all, but I don't know. Internal balance starts to become bad at that point, right? Like that starts to hurt a little bit. So I don't know, but I do think that there's more efficient options that aren't getting explored. Like even with Dueling Dragons, we talked about a little bit in our Discord. I think the list gets better if the Incarnate it's an overall buff to the list if the Incarnate gets nerfed and I can take it out and put in 2 chariots.
Oh yeah, 2 chariots.
It
sweet.
saves me points, and the list just becomes better.
Mm-hmm.
So I want that to happen. It's a little bit. It's almost like when Long Strikes got nerfed and stuff. Other stuff got better.
Yeah.
Or dragons losing their hero face move. Our other stuff gets better. But this affects the external balance too. It's like internal balance for all the armies and external balance of not seeing the Incarnate.
Mm-hmm. I kind of hope dragon spam comes back. Not as long as it's not the main way to play Stormcast. I just want it to be a viable way to play Stormcast.
Oh, it definitely, and it still is. It is. Mm-hmm. It definitely still is.
There's those lists with 2 blocks of 4 dragons and a Draconis going around. Those are kind of interesting because I like the double tap breath on the Drakes. Mm-hmm. Without the Draconic Onslaught, I don't feel bad playing dragons.
Absolutely.
They just feel like a fair unit. They're more expensive and they fly and they have all this utility, but they're not that different from other units that I have.
Yeah.
Ally Eltharion.
Dude, that I've been a little bit hype on Ally Eltharion. He's better than Bastion. If you wanted what we wanted Bastion to be, Eltharion gives you that.
How many times have I said that Andrasta? We've talked about Andrasta and Bastion a lot, and you guys are always saying what point value should they be, and you guys are like, 280, 2 something like that. I'm like, no, 240. It can't. She's playable at 240. She's not playable before that. And then Light of Eltharion comes around, and he just blows them away, and he's 240 points.
Oh, that's disgusting. Absolutely disgusting.
Yep.
Yeah, maybe.
He's good.
I gotta go steal some points from some Seraphon heroes.
All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Coming up videos, we've got Night Haunt, how to counter Night Haunt. We had a special guest who will be revealed when we play the video. And we've also got a review of the Lumineth book coming and a review of the Gargant book coming. So take a look at those. Special shout out to our patrons. You guys are great. You've been able to help keep us going and motivated. And it's like, damn, people actually want to watch this stuff.
Listen to us?
Yeah. It feels really nice, and it's helping us with getting a merch off the ground. Like we've got some dice coming that we are going to get to you guys as soon as possible, and then other stuff that I can't announce yet, but we're working on it. Yeah, we're working on it. So thank you everybody for tuning in. Thank you everybody who supports us, even just by watching our videos. I'm still amazed people watch these videos. I didn't think this would be interesting when we started this podcast over a year ago, but here we are.
Yeah, it's an awesome time. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
Hopefully, Battlescroll tomorrow or Wednesday or something.
Something.
All right. Have a good